all know what bye week is like. It sucks, right? There's nothing to talk about. Everyone's looking for content. Everyone's looking to find something to watch about the Bears if you're in love with them like we are. So it's this last Monday on the Barroom Network, Bears Country Podcast, broadcast from here and from their network. And we had Nomad on, who was the original host of Bears Country Podcast. And he had a great time with myself, and I had a great time with him. And we started talking about the show was supposed to be about the Bears' current players, A grades, A through F, and then moving on into Bears free agency and then current free agency and then the draft. And then we just talked for so long that we had to continue this on Last Call at HALAS Hall. So tonight we have Nomad and we have Cliff Victoria coming back because he does have some pretty good stuff to say. So Kitty, let's kick this shit off.
Bears. Bears Country Podcast.
I thought it would be a good thing to do, having Nomad back on. I meant to do it for the last show, and Cliff, that opener is the first opener that I made for Bears Country Podcast, and Nomad and I, when I was first doing it, Nomad was on the show, and I thought it would be fitting to have that opener. I fucked up last week and didn't do it on the Barroom. But I thought it'd be fun to have that original opener just to kind of say, welcome back, Nomad, and, of course, Cliff. Thank you guys for joining us. Nomad, how you feeling tonight? Thanks for coming back. This is your second last call at HALAS Hall. We're going to get into some shit, and I just want to know how you're feeling tonight, buddy.
Before we get into any of this football stuff, first of all, give Atari their goddamn software back for that goddamn opening. That was no good. But yeah, seriously, man, this is, for some people, how some people would pay big money to be at the football game. And I respect that, but I would pay good money to be behind the scenes and know what's going on in this time of the year, like at practice and things are stuff that's developing. This stuff is too intriguing to me. So to me, there's no off season. This stuff is good all year round, in my opinion. And I aim to put that out there for everybody so people will have something to talk about through the off season.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see the old guard back here. And I had a chuckle again when you put that circle bear up there. That's it's the stupidest looking bear. So, the modern one is much more ferocious. This one is just like.
Kitty, wait! You got to show the difference. Wait, show the current logo overlay that we have, as opposed to Thank you.
He's got that Bill Gates first software shit.
Dude, literally, I make circuit board. You can take it down, Kitty. I make circuit boards for a living. I made that on a circuit board software. So kudos to me for at least trying, right? It took a little bit of Aldo's help to make that a little bit more creative, So thank you.
Well, it was fun to see. It brought back memories.
Yeah, it's nostalgic, right?
Sure.
So last on Monday on the Barroom Network, here at Bears Country Podcast, we wanted to have a robust conversation about the Bears' current situation and grade the players from A to F. And then we wanted to move on from there into the Bears' current free agency and then into the NFL free agency. And then from there, any draft possibilities that we have that was, going on from players that had announced that they were coming out. So we talked for so long that we never got into anything past the A to F grades. So tonight, is kind of like the part 2 of that, so we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into. We want to talk about the Bears free agents on the team based on the grades that we have. Who should we keep or let go based on the current free agents on the Bears, and then move into the NFL free agency and see who might be something that we could, because we all know the order goes in that direction. So we go from where we're at to the next free agency and then kind of into the draft. And it's great to talk to you guys. Let's get around the horn and kind of see what you guys think. Let's start with you on that. We'll go with you first, Nomad.
Well, I think there's some guys on the team that we haven't gotten a good look at that will make this team. I think there's going to be some guys on this team that we have gotten a great look at that will not be on this team next year. They've been given every full opportunity to show what they have, especially on the defensive line. There's going to be some guys like Travis Gibson, unless they have a plan. And I did hear Eberflus at his presser, I think it was yesterday, say that he wanted to try to put some guys at some different spots to see how they do there. And that's the first name that came to my head was Travis Gibson. Maybe they slide him to the inside and give him a look in there at 3-tech or something like that, and just to see what he can do. Because I think that's the only way he's making this team next year, because at the DN spot, I think he has totally topped off. So stuff like that, it's going to be some guys on this team that we just don't need them, man. We can do better in free agency and waiver. I mean, we can do a lot better than some of these guys on this team.
And before we get to you, Cliff, I just want to say that I'm looking at my notes on Travis Gibson or Gibson, I should say, and they're let's see, Travis Gibson. You gave him a D, and I think I gave him a C minus. So yeah, we're close on that. Cliff, go ahead. What do you think about Travis Gibson, and where do we go moving forward with him as a free agent on the Bears?
We're on the same page.
Actually, he's not a free agent, is he? Sorry, go ahead.
All right, we're on the same page as far as grades for Travis Gibson. You don't hear his name called in the games. And for a defensive lineman, if you're not hearing his name called, it means he's not doing all that much. Right. So, yeah, and now we're at the time of year where everybody knows we're not going 11-6. So what we need to do now is just play the rookies, play the guys who haven't been able to play, maybe even get some practice squad guys so that we can see what the Bears have, because they're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Right. Nomad, I mean, there's a lot of free agents coming up on this team that we have to look into here to see who is worth keeping and replacing. And when we get into that, is it Travis Gibson someone that you're thinking that's going to be on the roster next year?
No, I don't. There's no way. Unless by the grace of God, they slide him in the inside the 3-tech and he just starts tearing it up. I mean, if anybody can tell me or show me something that he's done this year at defensive end that warrants keeping him at that position moving forward, man, no. We can improve at that spot. We can get pressure from that spot. We just have to get a better football player at DN. I don't think he's a DN anymore. Not in this system.
It's so odd because that's what he was coming out of college, and he seems to have played better in the 3-4, right, Cliff?
I think that we have to see if he's strong enough to bull rush the offensive guards. See if he can do that better than try to get around the tackles.
Right.
I mean, Tevin Jenkins, he found his spot now by switching. So will Travis Gibson do it? We don't know. We just got to try him at positions to see if he's going to stick around or if he's going to be a backup or what's going to happen in his future.
You know what, man? Travis Gibson, he's picked up a lot of good muscle since he's been here. He came to us about, 265, 270-ish or somewhere in that neighborhood. And I've seen him slowly put on good muscle. I mean, good muscle. There's really no fat on the guy. And what I think he's doing is his body's maturing out of the defensive end position in a 3-4 defense. Can he play that in a 4-3 defense? He's shown he can. 4-3, I just don't see it anymore. Only way he makes it on this team is on the inside, I believe.
That's a good point. As people get older, their bodies change. And these guys are right at that point in their lives. 25, you're still a kid. 27, 28, your body suddenly decides it's an adult and puts on the pound.
When would you? This is a very good question, because I often ponder this. When did you guys feel that you became a man? At what age?
Well, you
30,
besides
32.
sex.
32. About 20.
For me,
20,
I think
20,
it was for me, it was right around 25, because up until that point, I had been fast cars, partying, fast women, the whole deal. And then I met my future wife around then, and it settled me down a bit. I enjoyed being with her, and I had to change my lifestyle.
I don't feel like I became a man until my father passed, and I was 35. And when he was gone, and all the what I'm talking about, like all the questions that you have for your father growing up, my dad was a do-it-all guy. He could do anything, and if whatever it was, if it was installing a 240 volt amp circuit in my house, he would come and do it. If it was tiling a backsplash or tiling the entire house, like, he was the guy. And when he was gone, that's when I became a man. And it's different for everybody. So for me, it was like 35. So when you're talking about these, I mean, God, we're all getting into the point where these are like children now, right? They could be our kids playing in the NFL, and we're trying to like go back in time, basically, in a way to like figure out what their mind frame is in today's world. It's almost impossible to do. And I bet our parents felt the same if they were thinking the same thing. But I'm sorry to go on a little off rant about that. But
we're talking about physical and emotional maturity.
Exactly.
When I physically matured, I was probably about 23, 24.
Right.
And right about that time is when you start packing on your grown man weight. And that's probably right about where Travis Gibson is.
Yeah, I was 140, now I'm 185, so it was the same thing. I was super skinny as a kid, and then you hit those mid to late 20s, and then people were asking me, "Are you working out?" No, I'm getting old.
How tall are you, Cliff?
6 feet.
Yeah. And 185? Damn, good for you, bro.
Thanks. Well, after my keto diet, I was down to 180, but my body didn't like 180. My body likes 185, so we're happy together.
I hear you, man. Your body tells you, that's for sure. All right, so what's the next, what are we talking about here? We kind of lost track.
You got some players? Yeah, you got some more players to grade?
No, so we were talking about the grades of the players last week, and based on that, so I do have some. Let's kind of dive into the Bears free agency. That's what I want to do right now. Let me pull this up right now because I forgot to do this when I had to reset my computer. All right, so Kitty, you can pull that away. Pull away the Nomad, Kitty. There you go. So these are the Bears free agents that are on the team right now. So kind of based on some of the grades that we had, Nomad, we talked about wide receiver last week, or not, I shouldn't say last week, Monday night. And our wide receiver grades were EQ was a B, Dante Pettis was a C+, Devin Dave Mooney was a B- for you. I just kind of want to know, like, what do you think here on this list? Since you gave Dante Pettis a C+, and so did I. And Cliff, you didn't put your notes into this, but I know that you have your own, thoughts on Dante Pettis. Let's just start with
but before we get going, I'll say I agree with Steve. I see a lot of shitty players.
Yeah, me too. And I meant to start with the bottom wide receiver on this list, which would not meaning like in stats order, but he's the least paid. So EQ, guys, like let's just go kind of around the horn, like keep or leave.
We're talking about EQ.
Rose or Thorn? How about this? Kitty likes to say Rose or Thorn. So is EQ a Rose or a Thorn?
Go, Cliff.
I would say EQ is more of a Rose, but it's a bench Rose. It's not a starting Rose.
I would agree.
I think, and I'm going to get a little bit long-winded, not much, but EQ is doing more for this team than meets the eye. And some of the things that he's able to do haven't really necessarily been featured so far until Mooney got hurt. And I said this in the last pod, he's been able to put on display. You didn't see his speed before last game they played. You didn't see it. It wasn't there. It wasn't apparent. He wasn't getting separation on anybody. But all of a sudden, with Mooney going down, he knew that I'm probably Justin's next favorite target. And he got to put on display what he can do. And so I definitely think that they're going to keep him and give him another contract. No doubt about it.
I have no problem with that. I would be much more likely to say goodbye to Pringle and even Pettis than EQ.
Well, as far as Pringle goes, man, we haven't. You got to take it easy on him because he hasn't had the opportunities like some of these other receivers. He just hasn't. And if he gets in these last few games and gets those opportunities and does not produce, then I'll take my hat off to you guys for that. But right now, I can't touch that until I see more of him.
Sure, nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, Jordan.
I think that so Byron Pringle, I gave him a D, you gave him a C, Nomad, and I agree. I mean, he has a contract. He's going to be here next year. As we get into this, we're going to find out that N'Keal Harry is up for contract. Dante Pettis is, so is EQ. So of all these four receivers, I think that the ones that I would want to keep are, besides obviously Byron because he's going to come back next year, I want to see more out of N'Keal Harry, and I definitely think that EQ has a fit in this offense. And he's proven it as the season has progressed when Justin needed someone. And who was the first person he went to in that game last week was, it's like they schemed the game for EQ with Justin. So I'm happy with EQ returning and N'Keal Harry. And let's see what happens with Byron Pringle. Let's bring him in training camp and see what happens, right? Because I'm sure they can let him go if they draft someone, and we can get into that a little bit more later. But as we go on these four, who do you keep? Who do you leave?
Joe, Cliff.
Well, let's see what kind of offers come in for the players from other teams. If some other team wants to overpay for them, just let them go. That answers that question. Now, if all four of them are still available, I don't have. All right, I used to watch N'Keal Harry when he was on New England, and when they throw him the ball, he made plays. Right. So I do want to see a little bit more from him to find out if he just occasionally makes plays or if he can do it consistently. Right. Dante Pettis, I sort of feel that he is somewhat like the receivers the Bears had last year, and let most of them go. He's okay, but he's not anything really special. Pringle, like Nomad's saying, we haven't seen that much from him. He's been hurt. So I don't mind seeing more from him to see where he's at. And EQ, it seems that Eberflus seems to like him, so he's probably going to be around.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with that. Yes. All right. So as we get into so that's wide receiver, tight end Ryan Griffin. I mean, keep or leave.
Ryan Griffin.
Yeah.
He could take it. I'd take him or leave him. He's a
Yeah.
big target. He's probably like 34 years old or somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm serious. He's a little older.
Yeah.
The question is, do you want to get younger, or do you want to keep that spot for a veteran? And if you prefer to keep that spot for a veteran, then there's a reason to keep him on the roster. But if you want to get younger and give some young gun coming in out of the draft, some UDFA, something, I mean, you can find a reason to say, hey, you know what? See, I appreciate you, Griffin, but we're gonna get a little bit younger then.
And our only person in chat, Steve S, says leave him, or says bye. See you later.
Oh, they shouldn't say goodbye because he's going to miss the 2023 roster of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, he's probably
gone. Oh, he's gone. Yeah. So Riley Reef. Too much money. He's too old too, right? He has to be replaced. So let's look at that. So right tackle is a position that they're going to have to go looking at, right? Is that going to be, in your opinion, free agency or draft? And I kind of want to take some notes of that.
Well, I think it's either going to be free agency, or if Alex Leatherwood, I would play Alex Leatherwood all 4 of the next games to see exactly what he is, because he's looking better than he did last year. But let's see what he looks like if he's playing entire games. So play him and see if you got a free first-round draft pick that can turn into a serviceable player. Because if he is, you don't have to spend any money or a draft pick. If he's not, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, from things I've heard, he's playing the rest of the season as much as he can.
And he should be, yes.
Yeah.
And if he's not the answer, then you have to go out, either free agency or the draft. But as far as taking a right tackle, I think free agency is the way to go, because a draft pick, you're going to use a first or at the very least a second to get a good one.
What did you think of Leatherwood in that game, the limited snaps that he had, Cliff? Because we had our grade on him, and I'll find them while you talk, but we have our own grade on him. Go ahead.
I'd give him somewhere in the B's, either a B or a B- or something. He wasn't really getting beaten too badly. He was leaning forward on a couple of plays, which didn't look good, not keeping his body straight, but he looked a heck of a lot better than he did on the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So the coaching must be helping. What do you think, Nomad? Do you think he's looking better?
We're still talking about Leatherwood?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's I always look at it from the coach's point of view. And first thing you want to do is gauge if he's confident in his movements out there. When he's engaging in the block, is he confident in what he's been being taught? And he looked pretty confident to me. I know the play you're talking about, Cliff, where he kind of overextended and bent forward.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You can nitpick and call that out, which I'm sure the coach did, because it's a fact. You got to be sitting in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
So, the little sample size I got, but more than anything, it's Riley Reef. As long as we know he's not the long-term answer, we know that.
Right.
You got a couple younger guys, and so long as Riley Reef is there, he's taking reps away from guys that really need him. So got to do some things.
I think we can all agree that right tackle is a position of need, right?
Absolutely.
Unless Leatherwood is able to play it, but otherwise, definitely.
Right. We could see a lot from Leatherwood in these next few games. Mm-hmm. And just to go back to what Nomad and I gave Leatherwood, he gave him a B-. I gave him an A-. And I know I'm a fucking homer, so excuse me for that. But just the amount of time that he had in that game against the Packers impressed me. And the homer in me says I gave him an A-. I mean, he could have done horribly. Everyone could have been sitting here bitching about Alex Leatherwood after that game because whenever he was in, he gave up a sack or he gave up a pressure or, and nobody talked about him. In fact, I never even knew that he played in the game, watching it in real time until, of course, I heard it all over the Twitter and the world's news. And I was like, holy shit. And I came back and I was like, wow, did the tape study on him? He played really well. In fact, I do have a couple of clips we can look at later just to prove that. And, I mean, that's why I gave him my homer A-.
Can I give you another way of looking at all this? Just really quick. We think we know what we're talking about as far as what the Bears probably need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you something. It's when I think they think they're on to something with Alex Leatherwood at right tackle. Why? Because even if you thought, okay, I think we might have something with him, but I want to wait. You probably want to wait until the offseason. You probably wouldn't want to throw him in a game with your starting franchise quarterback and take a chance with him if you didn't think he had something. I think they think they have something in Alex Leatherwood at the right tackle. I really think they have something.
I think that their belief in their coaching staff is pointing in that direction, right? Because they're seeing the results from practice enough to put him in there in a game like that against the Packers, and he performs.
Bears are a big practice team. They put a lot of weight into how good somebody practices. So he must be doing okay in practice for them to throw him in. And again, I hadn't heard that they were going to be playing him for the next 4 games, but that makes me happy because 4 games should give us a definite idea.
Okay, so we agree that we need a right tackle. Okay. We're kind of looking at the wide receiver, and we agreed that we need wide receivers, right? So we're going to keep. Let's just go back to these 4 wide receivers. How many of these 4 do you keep? I forgot to write that down. Sorry. You said EQ.
Yeah, I'd keep 2 or 3 in my opinion. I'd let at least one of them go to be replaced by a draft pick.
I agree. For me, I'm keeping Harry and Brown. So moving down to the safety. I mean, obviously, we're keeping DHC, right?
I sure hope so.
Come on. Nomad, come on. We're keeping DHC, right?
DHC needs a raise.
Yeah, it was shit. Okay. Moving on. I don't know where Bobby Massey came from at right tackle, but
I was wondering that.
I got this from what is this? Spot Track. Fucking Bobby Massey's on there. Okay, so David Montgomery. Oh boy, here we go. All right, I'm ready. Who wants to go first?
I will raise my hand for this one. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna, unless if you didn't watch the last show that I was on, this won't sound redundant to you, but David Montgomery. See, the thing is, you have to take your fanboy hat off for just a minute and really evaluate what we're getting and what the coaches might be thinking. He's not the guy that they drafted. They like the guy, they respect the guy, they know he's tough, and you got to take your hat off to him. But at the same time, they're looking around the league and they probably want more explosion from the running back position. They think that they can probably upgrade. That's the key word right there. Can we upgrade at that position? If you say anything other than yes, then you're probably being a fanboy. We can upgrade at the running back position with David Montgomery. And as much as I like him, I would like to see somebody else come in.
Cliff, Rose or Thorn?
I like David Montgomery. I'm a big fan of his. However, like Nomad is saying, I see at least 2 and maybe more running backs out there that the Bears could acquire for 2 or 3 million more than they'd have to pay Montgomery.
Don't do it, Cliff. Don't do it, Cliff. Save it for when we do the free agents. I know where you're going.
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait to name the people, but there are the other running backs out there.
Correct. So now we're kind of doing a rose or thorn, which means keep or let go, right? And
Sure.
I'm going to say thorn. So we have 3 thorns there.
Yes, that's pretty thorny.
I mean, I can't go on enough about David Montgomery. I've already have. Go back and watch the other podcasts. It'll help the views. I mean, I love DM. He is the moment that I saw him do the Walter Payton little sidestep cut for a touchdown when I was scouting him, I fell in love with him, and I've loved him all the way through this year until now. But I realize he's not a fit for this offense. And when it comes to running backs, you're obviously going to be able to get somebody in the draft in a later round that's going to be as good or better than him for this offense. And that just kind of proves that he's a thorn. So thank you, Steve S. So, okay. So now we know that we're moving up. We're going to draft a running back. Okay.
Or sign one.
Or sign one, but probably draft one. So let's get on to let's get on to Nathan Peterman, the quarterback. Rose or thorn? Come on, guys. Let's get to Nathan Peterman.
I think that Nathan Peterman is a seed because we haven't seen anything from him. All you got is his past on other teams. Who knows what he's like.
I'm not even going to write that down. That's just never mind. Let's move on to Nicholas Morrow. What do you? I mean, he's played well, right? For his $3 million contract. Is he a rose or a thorn? Do you keep him or do you leave him?
You definitely keep in Morrow. However, here's the key word I'm gonna keep using all night, or the key couple of words. Can we improve? We can improve at his position. Right. So is he worth keeping? Hell yeah. He's put on some good tape out there. He's a good linebacker. Is he maybe a backup Mike linebacker? Will linebacker? Probably. You could probably improve at that position, no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment he's a rose to me, but if you look at the guy directly underneath that we'll be getting to next, he's better than Adams. So, I'll give Morrow the rose, and I would much rather keep him than keep Adams.
And when we're talking about roses and thorns, we're talking about a player that you say just get rid of after this year, and a player that you would like to re-sign to come back into training camp and see what happens, because a lot of these players are 1-year contracts. So we're just trying to kind of go through the evaluation of what do you think of a lot of these 1-year contracts, and from there, are they a part of the team? And this kind of helps us to evaluate where we go in the draft, right? So we can agree that Nicholas Morrow is a rose, right? Because he is helping the team and he's someone you can bring back on maybe another 1-year contract. But it's something that you might want to draft, which is a linebacker.
Right.
Okay.
But you may want to keep Morrow on the team and draft the linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. You re-sign him, but then you also draft a linebacker to replace him to see what happens.
That's exactly what I think. No doubt about it. You keep him and you draft and see if you can improve. And all you want is a bunch of pushing and shoving and competition at those positions. And, just having him there, he's going to set the tone. He's going to set the standard. Let's see if somebody can surpass him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And I don't think he's the weakest linebacker of the 3 right now.
Absolutely not. I mean, they play a lot of 2-down linebacker sets, so it's just him and Sanborn out there.
Yep.
I mean, how many times can you remember seeing Matthew Adams?
He doesn't get a lot of tick unless somebody's hurt or, when they're playing against a run-heavy offense. Matthew Adams, and if you really look at his tape, man, Matthew Adams plays his ass off.
It brings us to Matthew Adams. So, Nomad, what do you think? Rose or thorn? Do you keep him or leave him?
If for no other reason than special teams, damn right. You can't. That dude he's a wrecking ball, man. I mean, that dude he's worth his weight in gold. When you're looking at it, I got my coach's hat on, y'all. I'm coming from that perspective. When the coaches are
Do we lose you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
They're gonna find a spot for Matthew Adams because just the physical nature he plays with, and it just sets a tone for your team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm hoping, I mean, I agree. They need more than 3 linebackers on the team. I'm just hoping that they can find at least 1 or 2 linebackers, either in free agency or the draft, where it gives them some alternatives. So maybe Adams ends up more on the bench as a rotational player.
Right, because when you're talking about this kind of guy, you're talking about, well, yeah, he's a rose as in a player that you want to keep on the team because he's an asset for other aspects of the team, but you're still going to draft someone to replace him, right? Hopefully moving forward. So I'm going to say the same thing, Rose, but again, replaceable, which means we could draft a linebacker. You see where I'm going? Sorry, it took me a second. So
yeah, I think we're all pretty much agreed on that.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the Joe Thomas territory. I mean, does anybody even? I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. It's
admirable.
He's admirable, but at this point, he's more of a rose than a thorn, right? Because if he comes back and knows the system, at least he'll have he'll have something over the rookies or whoever they sign. It might make him stick on the team, right? So, guys, go ahead.
We're going through a whole bunch of backup players here. Rotational,
I know, I'm just,
special teams.
Exactly.
For where he came from, they kind of got him at the last minute and kind of threw him in there. And the guys, he's probably not going to make the team. They're going to get more talent at the linebacker position. But just me tipping my hat to the guy, man. The guy's been admirable out there, and I appreciate what he brought to the team this year so far.
He's also been around for more than one regime, if I'm correct, right? Joe Thomas was on the team last year, and I think the year before that.
J-Rock mentions he's 31 as well, so that figures in too.
Yeah, but he's a special teams contributor, so you can always kind of count those guys in. I don't even have to say about him. It's just
Steve is absolutely right. This is a bunch of replacement guys out here.
You're damn right. Okay, so we can agree that Dakota Dozier is, the revolving door is gone. Patrick Scales,
you pass Scales. Scales is good. Just keep him. He's a rose.
Right. Okay, Patrick Scales, rose. So I want to ask you guys, why is this so fucking hard to have a long snapper that is somebody else on the team that plays a different position? Is it because of the injury factor?
Hell, I don't know. I know as much about a long snapper as I do feminine hygiene. I don't know shit.
It must just be hard to snap a football accurately for a distance like that through your legs.
But I mean, is it so irreplaceable that you have to have it a specified player on the team that cannot get injured? So he can only play the limited amount of snaps that he plays. Because why can't so we have a baseball player in the major league that is a pitcher that can hit home runs like Babe Ruth, right? Where is the long snapper center / long snapper that adds the value to the team for another position that they can add? It's just weird.
You mean the designated hitter in baseball?
Exactly. Like, why is there only a long snapper on everyone's team? He doesn't do anything else but fucking long snap. I mean, Patrick Manley has a career in like Chicago sports broadcasting as a fucking long snapper, people. Like, can it not be a 2-part position?
People that played football, we don't know anything about the kickers and the kicking game. They're on a completely different field than us. We don't even know what they do.
Oh, shit.
Well, I know from watching other teams that have problems with their long snappers, really bad things happen if you don't have a good long snapper.
But listen. Let's just say you drafted a prospect who was a center who could snap and also long snap. And then he got injured. Well, then what would happen? You're going to go and look for the grocery shop bagger on the, at Kroger or, Jewel or wherever the fuck you live, and go pick him up to be your long snapper for that game, and you're going to be just fine. So my question is, why is it so important to have a special position designated just for long snapper?
Man, I saw long snappers on sale at Walmart for like
Exactly.
$19.99.
Exactly.
I don't know, Shorty. I think you may be underestimating the value of the ball going where you want it to go rather than over the holder's head and downfield for 30 yards.
But if there's an injury, let's say you're down to your third quarterback and now you're going to play your running back at quarterback, you're going to figure it out, right? And there's all sorts of people that are just sitting around waiting that have talent to come into the NFL at every position, especially long snapper. So why wouldn't it just be so obvious to, and I know we're going on a side note rant, but what the fuck? There's a position designated to a long snapper. Why can't you just make that your center? Like find a center that can snap, be a long snapper, and then if something happens to them via injury, go scrap heap and find someone that can. It can't be that. Is there really only that many people that can fucking long snap the ball?
What's funny about it is in college, our starting tight end was our long snapper, and he never practiced it until like after practice. He'd ask a couple of guys. If I was riding with him, which I rode with him a lot, he'd say, "Hey, stay back with me. Let me snap you a few balls," and that was it. He'd be out there for about another half hour, 45 minutes. He'd be snapping, trying different stuff, and that's it. That's about all it was to it. And he ended up being a starting long snapper for the Philadelphia Eagles for about you had about a 13-year career.
Mm-hmm. No, man. In the pre-production, are you wearing earbuds?
No.
Are you wearing? No, you're just talking into a computer.
Yeah. What happened?
Okay. Well, I thought maybe you had earbuds on that were like dangling and like brushing on your sweater or something.
You probably just heard me open up another Corona and that damn top hit the floor and made it. You don't hear it now, do you?
No, I seem to be hearing just like a little flutter in the back. Anyway, go on. Moving on. So the next free agent is Javin White, Javin White. I think we can just assume that he's replaceable. Let's get to Michael Schofield. Keep or leave?
Keep.
At the moment, keep. But he's 32. He's not part of the long-term future. So if they keep improving, he's good for now. But I don't see him being on the Bears in 2 years.
So he's a rose, right? But again, we can kind of put this as a rose as we're going to be looking for a guard in the draft, right?
Well,
yes, definitely.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think.
Oh, go ahead, Nomad.
No, go ahead, Cliff.
I was just going to say I think it would be more of a free agency move if the Bears go for a guard.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I mean to put these lists into free agency or guard or draft. I apologize. Yes. So guard is a position of need, right?
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. I think we have guys that can play guard. I think it's a couple of guys like somebody like a Michael Schofield, which he performed horribly at right guard, horribly. But you put him at left guard, which is where this is probably his preferred position. He performed his ass off over there. Mm-hmm. And so to me, him performing at that spot probably decreased the team's need to actually go and be like what you guys might be thinking, maybe be looking for another one because like he's saying in that Tyree Carter needs a good look at this. And so
we talked a lot about him, didn't we? Yeah. Sorry, I overtalked you, but you and I talked a lot about Tyree Carter, didn't we? We fell in love with him in training camp, didn't we, Nomad?
Oh yeah.
maybe a little bit too much.
Physically he fits the bill, And if anybody that I'm looking at, who is that? Dion Buford there. Dion, do yourself a favor and go check him out in that. I think it was a Senior Bowl or one of those Shrine games or something.
Mm-hmm.
They had the practices they got on tape. They had the actual game on tape. Man, he was locked down at left guard, locked down. And so I think he's come on this level and he's probably had to adjust to the speed and power of the game. And probably I seen when they put him out there in preseason, he was a little jumpy. And with coaches like this, they are really, really keen on making sure you're not having mental errors. These are old school coaches, and they will stop you from playing in the game if your practices suck. So that's just the way they are. I played for coaches like that, and so I know how all the magic happens in practice with coaches like this.
I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think of the fact that we're going to be losing probably some offensive guard help here in the offseason? Like, do you think that someone like Ja'Tyre Carter is something that they're looking forward to in the future, and then maybe they have an eye on that's going to like be able to take that position like for real, and maybe it's not a position of need?
Did you notice? If you notice, all season he hasn't hit the practice squad.
Right.
What that means is they're not going to take a chance to put him on the practice squad and be scooped up by, some other team. They got plans for him. They'll keep him on the active roster and work with him that way. And so maybe the whole plan was all year was to maybe wait until the end of the year, work him and build him, and maybe put him out there late in the season just to see what we got, or maybe just keep him and work on him the whole season and off season, and then bring him back out in the summer.
Similar to what they've done with Leatherwood, right? But he had like the built-in experience where they were able to actually like put him out here now, like and give him a little more time in the season. Sorry, Cliff, go ahead.
Exactly.
I think that Cody Whitehair is gone either at the end of this season or next season at the latest. They save about $6 million if they let him go this year, and next year it will be even better. So because of his getting older and because he's average, at best, and because of the money he makes, I think that he's got a limited time in Chicago. So they obviously have to be looking for replacements for him. Maybe Ja'Tyre, or thanks. Maybe Ja'Tyre or someone else, draft a free agent.
So Dieter Iselin. So I'd
like to see him play.
Yeah, I would too. I think so. I'm sorry, Nomad. I think someone had something to say. Maybe it was you about the school that Dieter Iselin went to. So it proves of his scholarship as far as learning the position, as opposed to something I said. I think was that what Mustafa was. He had the brains to play center, and somebody I think commented in the comments that Dieter went to a more scholarship school that he basically proves he's smarter, so he should be able to pick it up just as well, or if not better. And I don't mean to interrupt anyone, but because I want to go around the horn, I'm last. But what do you guys think of Dieter Iselin based on that information I just put out there?
Go ahead, Nomad.
All right, because I got another way of looking at Dieter Iselin. I keep trying to tell people all the time, center is a more of a cerebral position than people give it credit. And also the things that I've noticed when he was out there playing at center, whether it was, I think it was preseason, and the center quarterback exchange was not that good. There were some really bad snaps by Dieter Iselin. I don't know if that's the reason why he hasn't been making the field. But I can tell you right now, it's an emphasis from football coaches. They get after it with that. And just if you really think about it, just imagine the centers over there in their part of the practice field working on the speed it takes you to exchange that ball from the ground up to the quarterback and getting yourself in position to be a blocker. That takes a skill, and it takes a certain amount of speed to be able to do that. And I've seen guys struggle with that many a times on the college level. And I'm sure it still happens on the pro level. And I noticed that when I was watching Dieter, his center to quarterback exchange was a little poor, and he was just trying to hurry up and get to the block before the block can get to him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to anybody.
And center is you have to be intelligent as well. You know, you're calling out the defense, you're calling out the schemes. So besides just having to do the physical part of the game, you also have a big mental part of it. So it's not an easy position to play.
I agree, man. I want to say, Raging Oracle, it's great to see you back in chat. Thanks for joining us. I agree with you guys. So I think we all can say that Dieter is a rose, right?
I think so.
Sure, right now.
Yeah. He's somebody you're going to at least bring back.
Got to see more from him.
Right. But definitely going to bring him back.
If Doug Kramer comes back healthy and improved, then Dieter Iceland could be kind of wishy-washy out there.
If who does?
Doug Kramer.
Yeah, you're right.
Rookie.
But let me ask you guys this. Does that make center a position that's going to be looked at in free agency or draft?
I don't think so. I think I'm not saying that they won't go and draft. I doubt it, man. I think unless there's something going on with Lucas Patrick that we don't know about injury-wise, if they're skeptical about him being able to be a full-time starter with his health and any of that, if there's any questions about Lucas Patrick, then yes, they'll probably go looking for a center. If they don't have any questions about, and it's all centered around whether they think Lucas Patrick can come back healthy and present next year, why would you look at center?
We'll have to wait till I get to my 20. Have to wait till I get to my 2023 Chicago Bears starting lineup for my answer to that one.
I was just going to say that we were talking about Dieter Iceland, right? Because I lost my track watching people in chat. I apologize. He's definitely a rose. Moving on to the next free agent, Kari Blasingame. I mean, has he been noticeable to you guys this year? Is he worth? Do you look for another free agent fullback? Do you draft one? Do you re-sign this guy because he's been solid? Because you haven't even noticed he was in there or not? Basically, enough.
Well, he's not. You don't hear the announcers talking about him like they do about the San Francisco fullback, for instance. So
right.
He's serviceable, but I was hoping for more from him. I wanted to see him get out there and flatten guys and have the running backs run through big truck-sized holes.
Mm-hmm.
So I give him a rose unless somebody better comes along.
Mm-hmm. No, man?
I'll go back to the key words. Can we improve? I think so. And does that mean he hasn't done a good job? I believe he has been. Everything I've seen on tape checks out for me.
Mm-hmm.
But can we improve? Can we find a guy that can bring more to the table than Kari Blasingame? I'm sure. So if that's the way coaches are going to look at it.
So would you say he's someone that you would re-sign? Because, we have to go into free agency before we go into the draft. So is it something that you would say basically rose or thorn or keep or leave? So you would keep him, right?
As of right now, I don't see anything out there that I would want to replace him with. So I'm
right.
with Raging Oracle. Keep him.
Yeah, all of us agree on that. I agree too. Moving on to one of your favorite players, Nomad. I know your fondness for Trevon Wesco, so let's just start with you on him. How do you feel?
Keep. And why? Because we're going to be a run-centric team. I repeat that. We're going to be a run-centric team. He was signed to be a nose buster at the tight end position. He's basically a U-back. He could utility back. You can go line him up in line. You can take him out. You can slide him back there in the backfield and be a fullback. He's valuable. That's coaches that are run centric. He's a piece. He's a gold nugget. Yes, you keep him. He's a rose.
I'll give him the rose as well. And again, as we're saying with just about every player, he gets the rose until he gets replaced.
I like it. I agree with all of you on that. I know when they first signed Trevon Wesco, I know you shouting something out there on Twitter about that Nomad, and he has proven to be someone that you can keep on this team. And, I mean, compared to the rest that we've had at the tight end position besides Cole Kmet. So definitely I'm going to keep him. And as we said, these are not positions that you can't look to upgrade. So it's just a matter of like, who are we going through this list and who do we keep, because some of them you're not going to. All right. So let's get down to Mike Pennell. What do you guys think about Mike Pennell this year? Keep or leave?
So you, Cliff?
It's hard to say. The entire defensive line has been underwhelming all year, and I am hoping the Bears make a very strong effort to improve at every position on that line, and that would mean that they would only be keeping 2 or 3 of them. So,
Mike,
I mean, he just hasn't done that much this year. Nothing special. How many sacks does he have? You happen to have that in front of you? Does he have any?
Oh my goodness! What the whole team has? What 13?
And the whole team got half a sack.
Let me pull this out while I just look this up. Yeah, the whole team. Like, what are we looking at? ChicagoBears.com.
While you're doing that, let me throw this in there. Again, I'm always looking through the eyes of the coaches when we're talking about stuff like this. Can you improve? Yes. Here's another caveat. They're looking for Grover Stewart from the Indianapolis Colts, number 90. They're looking for that guy. Grover Stewart is not only is he a run stuffer, but he's a penetrator. He will draw that double team and force at times when he's in that game and force DeForest Buckner to get that one-on-one matchup. Or if they decide they want to, double team DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart gets that one-on-one matchup, and he has a skill set to be able to penetrate and make a play. Mike Pennell, I'm not sure has that. He's shown me this year that no, I don't. I think they can improve, and I don't think he makes the roster.
16 sacks.
16 fucking sacks, guys.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's actually common.
All right, I'm changing all my votes on every defensive lineman gets a thorn.
That's bad. Can you imagine what we look like on Madden right now?
No.
Good Lord.
The quarterback
we're
on Madden. On Madden, the quarterback just stands back there for a minute and then decides whether or not to throw the ball.
Good Lord, man. This might be the worst defensive line I've ever seen in my life.
God, I can't wait to get into
It's pretty bad.
I can't wait to get into the kicker after looking at those stats. Okay, so let's go back to the Bears free agents. So Mike Pennell is
they play hard, man. They play their asses off. They just can't make the plays, man.
But this does bring me to a player that I do like on the team, and we've talked about this too, before Nomad. Armon Watts. I am a fan of Armon Watts. I think if you give him some talent around him, it's going to bring out his best. And for me personally, not to go out of order, but I'll let you go, Nomad. I think we should keep Armon Watts. He's a rose for me.
Definitely a solid rotational piece. If you looked when Mike Zimmer was still there in Minnesota and he was rotating in a 4-3 defense, he was productive as hell. But he had a lot more talent around him than what he has here. And, and also they have him playing sort of out of position. He's playing that Grover Stewart role of, the big meaty guy in the middle that's supposed to absorb the double teams while the 3 tech goes one-on-one. That's the way it's designed to go. and that's out of position for him. And so, given that, I definitely think if he could be in a position to play more 3-tech and less 1, I think he can be a lot more effective for us in this defense with more talent around him. So I give him a rose.
I agree with Steve Watts, or with Steve S. there, that Watts is a solid rotational guy. Go ahead, Cliff.
I like Watts better than I like some of the other guys.
Right. That's it, huh?
What do you want me to say?
Enough said. Enough said.
Once again, when we get to my 2023 Chicago Bears roster, you will see.
We're all waiting for the. I like Watts better than some of the other guys. Like,
well, I mean,
hey, here it comes. He's about to go off. Oh, he's done.
Watts is. If you watch the tape close enough, which I do, man, he's getting. You're talking about something that, like Dominique Robinson, getting real close to being and making those plays, making those sacks. He's starting to really, really turn up. He's trending up. Definitely in the last 3 weeks, I've noticed that.
Mm-hmm. I've been noticing that a lot too, making all 22 films and stuff, and I've noticed the players that have been standing out. And Watts is one of those guys too that he's done enough to stick around on the team. Let's see what he can do next year if we can put someone next to him that's a beast. Angelo Blackson.
Not as good as Watts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all backups. You have not shown me one starter yet.
Nope. I'm getting rid. No, I'm getting rid of Blackson. He's done.
Blackson is as disappointing to me almost as Travis Gibson. I was expecting a lot more because he's just, if you look at him, he's the perfect size and weight to be a dominant 3-tech. He's just, I don't know if his skill set is lacking and he just can't get off block. I don't know what it is. I can't really call it, but I was expecting a lot more.
Maybe he got a nagging ass wife at home, like fucks up his day. You never know. Everyone has different problems in life, right?
Who knows, man? Yeah, somebody's sleeping around with his lady or something. Who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to thorn him, and he's 30. He makes $2.75 million. That's definitely
okay. So I think we're at a consensus here that we need defensive tackle and defensive end, right? Okay, let's just move on from there because we need to get into free agency and the draft after that. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is one of the worst defensive fronts that we've seen from a Bears team in a while, isn't it? It's just terrible.
It's the weakest spot on the Bears team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're getting into – this is kind of an interesting one here. Taco Charlton. I'm just going to say – I'll give it to you, the floor to you next, Nomad. But I think that I was very excited to find when they signed Taco Charlton. And I haven't seen really enough of him this season to say that he's been worthy of getting rid of. So for me, I'm going to say he's a rose. Someone you can keep, a rose. Go ahead, Nomad.
Who are we talking about? Taco?
Taco.
Steve just asked me a question there. I guess we can come back to it a little bit later unless you want me to quickly answer it.
Go ahead. You can answer that question. Sure. What was the question?
I don't think he is for these coaches in this 4-3. Just because I heard Eberflus and I noticed it when he said it. He said if you look back at teams he's coached, defenses that he's coached, he preferred his defensive ends to be in the 280, 290 range because he likes how they set edges in the run game. In that way of thinking, does Will Anderson fit that mold? I would say no right now, unless they thinking otherwise and changing things just because they get Will Anderson, but he doesn't fit that profile.
Does he fit like could he, if they adapted, could he be more of like the Indianapolis Colts defensive end during that Super Bowl run when they beat us? Who the fuck? What was his name? I can't think of it. Dwight Freeney. Could he be more of a Dwight Freeney role in this defensive line as a defensive end?
That's why all these coaches are different, man, and their preferences at these positions are different. That was Tony Dungy. That was Tony Dungy in the 4-3.
Could it be possible that Poles would just go? He would pull a surprise on Eberflus like Pace did on Fox with the quarterback and go.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
I'm going to give you a Will Anderson right now, and let's see what you can do with him at defensive end. Because I think that you can do this, but you just don't want to do it. But you'll be able to.
Nah,
what I like about
they wouldn't do that.
What I like about Anderson is he starts outside, and then he finds the gaps. So I mean, he may bull rush straight ahead. He may go inside of the tackle. He may go past the center. But he's very good at finding the gap to get to the quarterback. So,
we'll get into that in a moment. That's coming up soon. Let's just finish with Taco. What do you guys think of Taco Charlton?
I don't think I think he's played okay, but he's bounced around from team to team, and that doesn't mean he's a bad football player at all. He's just, can we improve there? Yes, we can. Is he warranted to be able to come back and come to camp and challenge for at least a backup spot? I think so. Will he make the team? Who knows?
Okay, so that's a rose, right?
So far, yeah.
Well, I agree with Nomad on that. Basically all these guys, it's the same thing for pretty much all of them. They stay for now because the Bears don't have anything better at the moment, but I think the Bears will have better players, and at least half these guys will be gone.
And this goes back to like the previous players that are on the defensive line that we've just been talking about. It's like they're all replaceable, but you want to bring them back just to see if they're not. Maybe their experience in this scheme in a second season will make one of them better, and then maybe you can. Through free agency and the draft, as we'll get into, maybe you can upgrade there a little bit. Dane Cruikshank. I mean, fuck. I expected a lot more out of that guy, to be honest with you guys. To me, if I'm just going to jump off the books and say, I'm going to say just get rid of him. Thorne. Go ahead, Nomad.
He definitely hasn't stepped out. Yeah, he hasn't stepped out at all. He was hurt for some time. So, once again, I expect the Bears can do better.
The talent is there. Dane Cruikshank has the talent to be a high-level, strong safety in this league, whether it be a starter or a backup. He has the talent. He cannot get off of IR. If you can't be healthy, your best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available, and that's going to probably warrant him to end up back on the waiver wire. Thorne.
Ooh, I like what Steve S says. Draft Brown from the strong safety from Illinois in the 6 or 7.
Actually, Flus likes those short, stout, really tough in the run game type of safeties. I can imagine that.
Mm-hmm. I have a buddy that said, draft so-and-so in the first round and then draft the entire Illini team from there on out. Because
they got some
shit going on there. Yeah, exactly. Be fun if we did this year. So I think we all have Dane Cruikshank as a thorn, right? Like replaceable.
Yeah.
So that means position of need, right? Which he's labeled as a cornerback, but he's more of a safety, right? So that could be someone on the team. So we'll get into that later. So Justin Lane, cornerback. I mean, replaceable. Let's get to the. Wait, you want to say something?
No, we don't even know what he looks like. He hasn't.
Exactly.
Second.
I was going to say Justin who?
Josh Blackwell. Anybody?
Definitely.
No.
Keeper.
Okay. Josh Blackwell, keeper.
definitely.
Yeah, he was in that Packers game, wasn't he?
Man, he played his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
If that's going to be what you're going to give me, I want to see him top that. I want to see him play and duplicate that.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree with that based on what I've seen of him playing. But I'd like to see a lot more before making a final decision.
And he's a rookie too, if I'm right. Right? Or am I wrong?
23.
Okay. This gets us to the final name on this free agency list, which is the most
Thank God.
controversial of them all.
Shitty Sam.
Come on, guys. Come on. Show your love or your hate for Sam fucking Mustipher. I want to know what you guys say in chat. I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to go last. You guys, let's go. Nomad, you go first, man.
First of all, Steve, hell yeah, I love Witherspoon, Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. He's bad as fuck, and he fits this regime to a T. So fuck yeah, if we can get him, but we'll get into that later. But Sam Mustipher, hell yeah, he deserves to be on this team. He's probably going to be our backup next year because he's getting better and better and better. Nobody can deny that. You know, he's only been in the league a few years, and you know he's a big boy playing in the trenches. Sometimes it takes a while, like Cliff said, to gain that grown adult strength, and I think it's slowly coming. Sam Mustipher gets better. Seem like every time I see him, he just struggles with a really big D tackle. Somebody like Dexter Lawrence, he's going to push everybody around. So that wasn't just a one-off of Sam Mustipher. No, he's pushing everybody to fuck around. He's just that good and strong.
Cliff, if I may take your position, just so I don't lose my thought, Sam Mustipher, if he just because he kind of bragged about eating Chicago deep dish pizzas to gain weight, maybe like the point that he's gotten to now, if he just stops eating the deep dish pizzas and moves on to like the Chicago style hot dogs, you know, add a little more protein and fiber to that, it might help him, you know, moving forward. Maybe that's what he did. Go ahead, Cliff.
I see him as a backup. You know, I mean, he's a good guy to step in because he can snap the ball. He's good with the signals. I just don't think that he has the strength or the technique to keep defensive tackles away from the quarterback.
I think he's going to end up in a Pro Bowl one of these days later on in his career. I really do.
Well, they nice. Discontinued the Pro Bowl, but he could, if he ends up an All Pro, that would be
right. I think he's the way he works at his craft. I listen to a lot of what Olin says about him, and I don't. Olin doesn't come across as a guy that would really be over anything for any one guy, not even if it's his guy. I think he just tells you what it is, and you either take it or you leave it. I think just the way he is, man. And to me, every time I see him say something, I look at it on the field, and I'm like, oh, Olin kind of knows what he's talking about. Sam struggles with power. A lot of centers struggle with power, you know. And other than that, you can't really find a whole lot of fault in this game.
Right.
I remember the times, you know, where there have been several this year where the defensive tackle or an end comes around and goes right past him. And I remember the play where he took out, I think it was Tevin or whoever was next to him. He took out his own guy rather than taking out the tackle.
Yeah, and I remember seeing some plays where he totally dominated his guy too.
Oh yeah,
and it's just you know it's so everyone's been so up and down on poor Sam, right? And Olin has been backing him his entire career, like he's his child, Olin Kreutz, you know, and it's just all I can say. It's just been very refreshing to see a guy come from a practice squad. An undrafted free agent from Notre Dame in the Big Ten to come to the Bears and play for this team like he grew up a fucking Bears fan. He has put everything that he has in his entire life into this team. And it's been shitty to see the negativity that came from some of his play, but it's been so remarkable and fascinating and just exhilarating and fun to watch his progression throughout these years, and to see where he's ended up now at, where we are at this point in the season. He is someone I want to see remain on the Bears. And I know there's going to be some haters that are going to shit on that, but I think you can both agree that this is a guy that we've all rooted for, and it's good to see some good come from it, for him.
Shorty, that dude is a fucking survivor. And
right.
when this regime came in, everybody and their mother was like, Sam will be the first one out of the door.
Right.
Sam was the last one out of the door. Why? Because that motherfucker struggles and he strives and he works, and whatever he's weak at, he's somewhere working on it. And that as that dude matures and his body matures along with him, along with his skills, I think a whole lot of people are going to eat crow about Sam Mustipher one day.
But you guys want my honest opinion? Blah, blah, blah. Great story. Keep Justin's uniform clean.
Love it, Cliff.
You could do a lot worse than Sam Mustipher, brother.
And better.
All right. Well, we're about to transition into the NFL free agents, and who are some of the players that we just marked off that we're going to need to kind of upgrade at. But Kitty, let's go ahead and we'll come back after that. Chris Watts, our favorite mate from overseas. This is all on me. I came up with the idea to start a GoFundMe for Chris Watts. He lives in Yorkshire, England, and he's a huge Bears fan. We had Nomad, you were there. We had a podcast about how he explained how the NFL basically started in Europe because of the '85 Bears, and it kind of gives credit to the Bears as starting the NFL in USA and in Europe in a way. And him being such a huge fan since, he was our age, he was 10, 11 years old, well, my age, more or less, when he became a fan. And here he is today living in England, and he literally thinks he'll never be able to come here for a game. And I keep saying he should. And so I started the GoFundMe for him, and anyone who would like to contribute, even $10, $5 would be amazing, because the more people that can do it, we can help get Chris to the U.S. to go to Soldier Field and watch a fucking live Bears game in Soldier Field with Bears fans, because we all know there's nothing more exciting than watching a Bears game in Soldier Field with the fans. Everyone is just so connected. It's just so much fun. So I'll put the link into the description of the show when we're done. And anyone, if $1, it would greatly help out to making someone's kind of bucket list dream, I should say, come true. So thank you for contributing if you do. And you'll get a special thank you from me if you do. And I'm done with that. Moving on.
So Chris, I'm gonna give you some advice. I'm gonna tell you what black people do when we need to pay some bills and we need money. We get out the pots and pans and we start selling fucking food out the back door. Fire up the barbecue grill, put some damn ribs on that motherfucker and some barbecue sauce and sell them.
You have no idea how humbled he was by this, because I started this out of my own fruition. I just came up with it. I was kind of joking with him about it on the first couple of shows. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to do this. And after one show, I just got online at midnight and did it. And let's see what happens. And we have raised some money so far. So any little bit helps. I mean, a couple, if 30 people gave $10. That'd be enough to really get it going. And we can. I set the amount at $6,000 because I did the conversion rate and all that stuff, and I know he's gonna need a hotel and money for tickets for the game and food and all that stuff. But if we can just raise at least like 3,000, I'm sure we can make it happen, because at the very least I can have him stay with some of my family, and we'll all be hanging out together. So anything that would be helpful towards that would be greatly appreciated. So moving on. I just love Chris Watson.
Baby back ribs and potato salad, Chris.
I just love Chris Watson. I want to see him come to a Soldier Field Bears game. It's the most fun that I've ever had. I love going to Bears games, and I've been to 3 of them now this year, and I forgot how much fun they were. So anything would be awesome. So let's move on to the upcoming free agency class, guys. So this is kind of what you've been kind of salivating at the lips for this, Cliff. What do you think about some of the free agents that are coming out now? And I have some stuff to pull up here. So whatever you have to offer here. Let me pull up your ideas for this, which is right here. There we go. So it's like this is like your generic Cliff Notes of the bye week 14 on last call at HALAS Ball.
It's bye week. So I thought what I would do for you guys is put together the 2023 projected Chicago Bears starting roster. So we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but if we quickly go through it, I think you guys will see a playoff level team that's going to make you all happy. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll start out with the offensive line. Braxton Jones, great rookie year. He's doing well. I think he's going to turn into a good left tackle in the league. Steal Elton Jenkins from the Green Bay Packers. It will hurt their team. It will help our team. He had 3 penalties and 2 sacks allowed in 2021 after coming back from a torn ACL. He can play guard. He can play tackle. Now, getting into the draft, you guys were talking about drafting a center. I like this Jared Patterson kid. I think that the Bears should take him if he's available. Maybe I'd love it in the 3rd round. I don't know if he'll last that long. 6'4", 307. He's a punisher. Plenty of size and power to flatten people in the run game, and good technique in the pass game. Now, the downside, he's not as athletic as Flus might like, but still he's one of the better center prospects in the draft. Then we keep Tevin, and this one's going to be a little controversial. Orlando Brown's probably going to be the highest paid offensive player or offensive lineman in the league after he gets a contract. So let's see if Alex Leatherwood can handle that spot, because if he can, it would save the Bears $25 million a year.
All right, let's stop it right there. I want to know what you think about this, Nomad. Yeah, Nomad, you go.
What do you want me to tell you? I'll just talk about this list here.
Yeah, love it or hate it. I don't care. Everybody's got opinions.
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just don't think it's that much of a concern as we might we want to think it is. Jenkins, a very good football player. I haven't scouted out Patterson. Orlando Brown, man, I don't know if he's too rich for this situation or not. He's expensive than a motherfucker, man. He's very
25
expensive.
mil. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, with Alex Leatherwood being there, I think that's what they're doing to avoid to have to go that route for Orlando Brown. I think they're trying to avoid having to pay that big money in free agency at this position, which is why the move for Leatherwood was important. But if somehow Leatherwood doesn't pan out in these next few games and he doesn't look so good, then I guess we get back to that RT position, man, and who knows, man. But I just don't think we have that much of a problem at guard and center. I just don't.
I'm going to say, Cliff, I think this is a very interesting combination that you've come up with, because I don't see center or left guard being replaced. I don't. I mean, I think that what you have there on paper there is correct as far as left tackle and right guard. But for you to have like basically a complete overhaul over the other three positions is pretty fucking like, wow, bro. You're thinking they're just going to dive into free agency, right?
Just wait until we get further into this. Hey, it's going to be controversial.
Okay, well, this is getting interesting because free agency comes before draft. So without free agency, you can't have the draft discussion. So, wow, you really okay? All right. Well, let's move on to wide receiver.
All right, WRs, wide receivers. All right, we're keeping Mooney. We're as starters. These are starters. We're keeping Mooney and Claypool, and then we're drafting Jalin Hyatt. Let's see. He is out of Tennessee. He played Alabama. He scored 200. He ran for 207 yards, scored 5 touchdowns against Alabama. And he's probably going to be available 3rd, 4th round. You know, maybe not, but I mean, it's a possibility. 3rd round, I think there's a chance. He's quick.
Jalin Hyatt, huh?
Pardon?
Jalin Hyatt, huh?
Yeah, Jalin Hyatt, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you happen to have a clip on him?
I'm gonna pull it up. Go ahead. Keep talking.
His clips are fun. He gets past the defenders. He outruns people. He scoots between people. He would be a touchdown threat for Justin every single play.
Let me help you out here, Cliff, because I've been studying him a lot lately, and there's some interesting things. Jalin Hyatt is, if you heard any through line between Poles and Eberflus when they discuss, player acquisitions and people they're looking for, one thing you keep hearing is we're looking for guys that can make explosive plays. And he is probably the most explosive receiver in the draft. I think and what I like about him the most is he's a hands catcher. He's not one of those receivers that like the guy from TCU. This is the only thing I don't like about him is he's got average speed and he body catches. He's got a DeAndre Hopkins type of body and skill set, but he catches. DeAndre is all hands.
Can I interrupt you really quick, Nomad?
Go ahead.
While you're talking, I'm going to just try something new here. I'm going to play this stream from Just Bombs Productions, which is, I'm going to give them credit for it and see if this works. Let's see if we get pulled from YouTube for this. So this is Just Bombs Productions, and this is
Just Bombs does a nice idea.
Oh, they do a fucking great job, and yeah, so I'm happy to. I'll put the link in the description for this as well, just to give them credit for this, because I don't know. I've never done this before. We're going to see what happens tonight, and I'm going to take a leak while I play this, and you talk about him, Nomad. I'll be right back.
All I know is that dude is when you're talking about explosion, and you need a pure playmaker at pure wideout as a playmaker, he's the guy. Everybody's talking about what's the guy's name from TCU and Jackson Smith and Jigba. This dude right here is the guy. If you want to, and he's a great deep ball tracker, and Justin is a great deep ball thrower. Right. And so I like everything about him.
And they say he's slow, but look at him run away from people.
Who said that?
Hey, 4.4, they're saying.
Man, look at all you gotta do is look at his game speed, and you tell me that's slow. You crazy?
Yeah, exactly. The game speed is definitely up there.
I mean, he is absolutely. I mean, he's gonna rip it up.
Yeah, I mean, I watched several receivers today to try to pick one for the Bears, and I've looked at his stuff before, but he's far and away. I don't know why he's not a definite first-round pick. I'm not sure.
Because people don't know what the hell they're talking about, man. This dude. This to me would make up for us not being able to get who I thought the most explosive receiver in the draft was last year, was Jameson Williams. This dude is that. All he does is make explosive plays.
Yeah, so I would not mind at all if he drops to the Bears.
Man, dude.
Look at that. Justin Fields could hit that pass.
Here's the thing. They are going to I think the team is going to take care of needs, most of the needs in free agency. They got that money for that. And once you get into the draft, you have the ability to be able to pick the best player available.
Sure.
And if they see him the way we see him, he's going to be up there at the top. Around the top,
Yeah.
At least.
Now, would you use the Bears' second-round pick to get him?
Second round?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely, a second round. Not the first round.
No, first, you really need to probably take a defensive lineman with the first, unless they drop down, trade down.
The thing about that is not knowing what they're going to get in free agency. In free agency, we can have a whole lot better conversation about this afterwards, because we'll know exactly what the needs are. I mean, what they were able to take care of in free agency and what's left on the board for them to get.
Have we seen enough of this kid?
Hey, you're missing some good stuff here, Shorty.
This kid's probably amazing, right? Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you, Just Bombs Productions, for your awesome video feed. I hope that you're allowing us to play on this right now. We haven't been kicked off yet, so we're good.
I watch a lot.
I take it down.
Dude, no, Just Bombs Productions is fucking amazing. So I don't want to get... I'm sure he'd be okay with it, but I think you guys have seen enough while I took a leak, right?
Yeah, sure. I watch a lot of Just Bombs videos. They're really
so do
good.
I. It's like one of my favorites. So, yeah, thank you for that, Just Bombs. We'll put that description, the link to that description in the description for this show, so that you get some credit for that. I hopefully we're okay.
Check them out, guys. If you haven't seen them already, check them out.
Watch him closely, man. Watch how he catches with his hands. Sure catcher.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the wide receivers right there, the starters: Mooney, Claypool, Jalin Hyatt. That's not a bad group.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now
I believe it from what I just witnessed taking a leak. Looks like a great receiver.
Yes. And well, Nomad and I both like him. All right, now
I'm going to go under consensus. I believe you guys.
Yeah. All right, here's the next surprise. We're stealing Dalton Schultz from Dallas, and we're going to have Cole Kmet and Dalton Schultz as our tight ends.
Oh.
Now, Schultz was franchised last season. Dallas, I don't think they're planning to keep him. They drafted a rookie, that they've been bringing along. So I think they're willing to let Schultz go, rather than pay him $14 million or top tight end money. So he may be out there, and Bears can afford $14 million.
I'm kind of on board with some of the offensive line. I'm not sure about, but I like the Dalton Schultz idea there. And as you start transitioning into running back, Kareem Hunt.
All right,
that's
sorry,
a very
Monty.
Fascinating idea.
Hold on.
I love you, Monty, but Kareem Hunt wouldn't be that much more money, and he brings more to the game.
Before you get off Dalton Schultz, this is a little challenge for you, Cliff. Check him out and see how well he does in the blocking game, because that's what these coaches are going to be looking at. Is he a good blocker? Because he can be a great receiving tight end, but if he's not a good blocker, you can cancel him.
I want to ask you guys.
Does a good job all around.
Before we move on, where do you guys rate Cole Kmet compared to George Kittle?
Not in the same class.
Kittle's much better, but Kmet stays on the field more.
But isn't exactly? But isn't Kmet just as good of a blocker?
Kmet's an elite blocker. I mean, he does. What Cole Kmet doesn't have that Kittle has is dexterity, swivel hips, and the ability to. I mean, that guy pretty much he runs routes like a receiver. Cole Kmet doesn't have that skill set to him. He's more like him and guys like the tight end from Baltimore and Travis Kelce. They're in the class all by themselves. just because of their hips. Cole Kmet is very stiff. He's more in the category of a Gronk.
I was just going to say that Kittle is more of a wide receiver. I agree with you completely.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. But
right,
it's been great to see some of the hands that he's had this season, like a one-hander and against the Falcons. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Moving on, I want to hear what you have to say about Kareem Hunt. That's fascinating to me.
Kareem Hunt wants out of Cleveland badly. He does not like playing behind Chubb. He wants to be the starting running back for a team. He's a good runner. He's a good pass catcher. He's probably a step up from Montgomery for not much more money. He would be a great target for Justin Fields out of the backfield.
All right, hold on. I got to pause for a second because this guy wants to fuck Jamar Chase.
Yeah, what's Jamar Chase going to cost? How many
what
first
do
round?
you talk about Jamar Chase for, Steve? He's a fucking Bengal. He's going to be a Bengal for the rest of his life. Come on.
Yes, when I put this together, what I tried to do was make it affordable enough that the Bears could actually do it, if they can do some good bargaining, and also make it with players that I think there's a chance that they will be in free agency and that the Bears could actually get. So I tried to make this realistic, although I took a little bit of liberty in having some fun because this is a team that would kick some ass.
Well, because Steve S. has been blowing Jamar Chase all night, let's just take a moment to go. Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the entire fucking NFL. He's better than he's going to end up when he retires, he's going to be better than any other receiver that ever played in the game. Okay, Steve S., are you good? Okay, moving on.
He's better than Cooper Kupp.
He's better than Cooper Kupp. He's better than fucking Randy Moss. How about that, Steve S.? I tell you what, he's better than Donner Mooney too. How about that?
Hey, if the Bears could get Jamar Chase, he would be on this list.
Yeah. Okay. Go
of the list.
Go have some Jamar Chase babies, and then we'll come back to the Bears. Okay. Moving on.
All right. This is the spot that's going to blow everybody's minds when we get into the defensive line here. Now, Jalen Carter's fine. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nomad.
No. I just want to that running back thing. Go if you can go back up.
Oh, sorry.
Listen, I'm probably one of Kareem Hunt's biggest fans. I liked him when they drafted him in Kansas City. He had his little problem, but I think he is ferocious running the football. However, from what these coaches have put on display as far as what they're looking for, I don't think he's that much of an upgrade from David Montgomery, who I think is the best running back in football right now, and just keeps ascending, is going to be available, and that is Josh Jacobs. He is good at everything. He's one of those guys that when you got a nice 7 to 10 point lead late in the game and you want to salt that game away, that guy's probably averaging 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. He gets it fucking done. He's the best in the league right now. I think that's where they go, and he can make explosive play.
But does he fit this offense?
Absolutely. He can play in any system.
I have no problem if you want to put Josh Jacobs in there instead of Kareem Hunt. I mainly wanted just to show that an upgrade at the position might be something that would help the Bears out. I mean, you could also put Saquon Barkley in there,
I think that what you're saying about the upgrade to the position would be something that fits more the complementary back to Herbert, because it is amazing. We all love DM here. We all love Monty. We all can agree on that. But I think we can all agree that there's just something that doesn't fit with this offense. There's something different that has been going on this season that we have seen in years past. Although we have seen some amazing runs, the Patriots game, I can't stop talking about it. The little wormhole run they did, there was a 3-yard loss. It turned into an 8-yard gain. It was an 11-yard total fucking gain. I mean, I love Monty, but when you're talking about if you're being pragmatic and you're trying to talk about the Bears, what fits this team, I'm not sure DM does. Monty does. So Kareem Hunt definitely would have that kind of, but is he too old? And so now you get into like, we can kind of get into that in a minute, but for what I'm going to say is like, fuck signing a running back. There's no signing a running back for me if I'm the general manager.
So okay, well this is mainly it's just for fun, you know.
Right.
So I'm showing you guys a team I think would easily make the playoffs and perhaps go further.
I love it, Cliff. I love it. Keep going.
I mean, you can make any changes you want to it. You know, if you guys want to modify it or disagree, no problem.
Or how about this, Cliff? How about this, Cliff? If you don't like it, go fuck yourself.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, I think this is the best one out there, but yeah, whatever. Okay, now if you notice, look at these look at these 4 defensive linemen. None of them are on the Bears right now. None of them.
Right.
I am replacing their entire defensive line. I'm starting off with Will Anderson for reasons I told you before. I like his moves to find the holes. I don't see too many players that can do that, and he seems to do it all the time. So I you know, and plus the guy can bull rush. He's got a lot of talent. And if you wanted to put the other guy, Jalin Carter, if you wanted to put him in there, that's fine too. You just have to switch a couple of spots around. All right, now Poona Ford from Seattle, 53 tackles, 2 sacks, 15 quarterback pressures in 2021. He's an underrated interior lineman. Maybe he could shine on the Bears. Darren Payne. A lot of people know Darren Payne. A lot of people want Darren Payne. So you don't have to say much about the guy. He'd be someone you could build the whole defensive line around. And then Yannick Ngakwe, or I'm butchering it, I know. But he's consistent. He's never had less than 8 sacks in a season. Never. So there's your defensive line for the 2023 Chicago Bears. What, you guys agree, disagree?
This is just the Cliff Notes speculation of what he would like to see happen this year. It's been very interesting to talk about. I would like to know your thoughts on this, DL Nomad.
If you could, the guy that I would, the most likely guy to end up in a uniform here is probably Yannick Ngakwe, and he's worth the money. Whatever he's asking for, he fits the system. He's in the system now over in Indy, and he's hella productive. I'm not saying that none of these other guys, Cliff, I'm not shitting on these other guys. I like all of them. I just don't think I think Yannick Ngakwe is definitely, I would say, trending towards being a Chicago Bear more than any of them, because they can always franchise Daron Payne. I don't think, be honest with you, I don't think Seattle's crazy enough to let Poona Ford out of there. And Will Anderson,
sure,
based on what I've seen out of Eberflus defense, he doesn't fit.
Well, go ahead, Jordan.
Go ahead. No, you finish up, Cliff.
I was going to say you could put Jalin Carter in there too if you prefer that.
Oh no,
yeah.
I mean, it's a good thought. I don't see him. I think he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker than he is an edge.
I'm going to agree with you on that, Nomad. I think that Will Anderson, I mean, there's a lot of people that think he's a transcendental talent, that he can play defensive end or outside linebacker, no matter what the scheme. But I just personally think that when you look at last season compared to what he's been doing this season, when you've seen college teams, I'm talking about college teams, pick up on what he's been doing, and they've been able to kind of like, you know, obviously you're not going to be able to match what he did last year. It's kind of like expecting the same thing from, you know, Robert Quinn this year. You know, you're not going to expect 18.5 sacks again. But, you know, I don't know. I agree with you in that aspect, Nomad, that I don't think that he fits the 4-3 defensive end scheme, unless you're looking at someone who's more on the mold, like we talked about earlier, the guy from Indy when we played him in the Super Bowl. What the hell's his name? The guy,
Dwight Freeney.
Dwight Freeney, thank you. But I don't think he fits that mold of Eberflus either, unless he wants to change his mind frame and go, well, what can I do with this guy? But I'm not sure if I see that. I could see them trading down if it came to that pick, because they could go into someone like you mentioned, and I've been doing a lot of research on him too, is Trenton Simpson, who could play anything from defensive end to fucking strong safety. If you can trade down and get some players like that in the draft, I mean, there's so much to talk about with that. But I will say that by finishing up, I do love Daron Payne there, and Yannick Ngakoue would be either of them. Good job with that, Cliff. Go ahead,
man. Scroll a little bit more, Shorty, and see who's there.
Sorry. Here we go.
I was gonna say anybody that likes Will Anderson, I challenge you right here, right now, today. Put on 5 minutes of Trenton Simpson tape. And I guarantee you forget what his fucking name is.
Right.
Well, there he is.
You'll be
linebacker.
You'll be thinking it's worth a trade down for if you can still get someone like that for sure.
And that's another possibility. Trenton Simpson is going to be taken substantially lower than Will Anderson will. If the Bears do trade down, maybe they end up with a couple of these guys by doing so, but they don't get Will Anderson. So I love Trenton Simpson too. The guy does everything.
All right, so I missed your entire second page of this. So linebacker.
So, all right. So, anyways, Nicholas Morrow, Jack Sanborn, I think they're both going to be there starting next year, the way things look.
And you said Trenton Simpson.
Yeah.
So, wait a second. Hold on. Let's go back up. How did you get Trenton Simpson on this team?
Because I was hoping to take him either with a trade or with him dropping into the second.
Okay. I like it. I like your thoughts, Cliff.
And again, is this reality? Who knows?
No, it's just your fucking thoughts.
It's a friggin' bye week. This is taking up our time. We're having fun with it.
Exactly. I liked how you said Nicholas Morrow, Jack Sanborn, and Trenton Simpson, though, because I'd be happy with that linebacker core going into next season for sure. I mean, Nicholas Morrow hasn't. There's nothing that's been unimpressive to me. He's kind of been just solid, and that he was a rose in that case or a keep. And Jack Sanborn, I mean, he fucking sucks, right? He can't guard a rabbit out of a hole, right? But you put him at Mike, and he does pretty goddamn well. And if you could throw in some Trenton Simpson in there, oh boy.
He completes that linebacker group.
Yeah.
All right. And then, of course, we keep Jackson. We keep Brisker. Maybe later in the draft.
Hold on a second. Jaquan Brisker fucking sucks.
Yeah. I got to disagree with you.
Nothing? I got nothing for anybody, all right? Nomad, nothing?
Nah, man, I ain't touching this. I like his list, man. I do, Cliff. I'm not.
You guys all know I'm kidding, huh?
This is a nice looking list.
It is a nice list. In fact, Cliff was he was like, "You're gonna like this list." When
I was enthusiastic about it. Yeah,
you were very excited about it, weren't you?
Well, I started doing it just like, well, what can I talk about this week? And I started doing it, and I'm like, oh man, I like this. This is cool. I like these guys. I mean, look at the team.
I have all this fucking all of this fantasy football knowledge going on. I'm gonna put it to some use here.
Exactly. Yes, I got a bye in my fantasy football because so I got a bye week there too. So I had the time to do it. Here, just to finish it up, Jalin stays, Kyler stays, and then we take Emmanuel Mosley, who I was talking before the show to Nomad about. He's coming off an ACL, which is the only downside. But I put him on here because by this point the Bears were running out of money, and I figure Mosley may be cheaper because of the ACL, and he got it last October. So hopefully he will be returning. It's 9 to 12 months before players can start playing again, and then probably another couple months until they, start to play more like their normal selves. So hopefully sometime next year.
Excellent thoughts, Cliff.
I just want to bring attention to something, and this is all fun. We just basically fucking around, and our dream scenario of what we think might happen is fun. But just take your mind back to one of the first things Ryan Poles said when he got here. He said these words: "We are going to build this team through the what?
Draft.
Exactly. They are going to be drafters. They're not going to get out there and get willy-nilly in free agency and go spend a boatload of money on, players and positions that we think they are weak at. They think they're stronger in certain positions than we think.
Right.
And so I think they're gonna value and emphasize drafting guys and getting them in some of these starting roles more than you guys think. I think they're gonna spend some money in free agency on up front and D line a lot. I think they're gonna have to, but I think they're gonna draft in those same positions and get them backups.
And I like what you're saying there, because it kind of leads into the next segment of they're definitely, we can talk about free agent signings. So Cliff, this is a great job about who you think that they were going to, sign, but let's kind of look at some of the positions that they have available in the free agents, the NFL free agent market, and kind of look at the defense here and the defensive line as it. Let me pull this up as I'm talking. Wrong stat. So you guys, let's look at. You want to look at edge first?
Sure, why not?
Let's look at edge. Okay, so this is kind of sad when you look at it. J.J. Watt, Robert Quinn. You guys want to sign back Robert Quinn as a edge rusher? But this goes down to what you're saying now, Nick. And
Ngakwe.
Ngakwe.
Can you make a circle on these players? Because I tell you what the circle here. There's two dudes on here that are in play. Right away.
I can't do a circle, unfortunately. Okay. I'm sorry. Not yet.
Two guys are in play. Not saying that none of these other guys anybody could be in play, but the guys I think, and I've been studying this shit, is of course Yannick Ngakoue and Larry Ogunjobi is still on the table. I'll tell you why. I believe they let him walk in free agency this year because of the injury. And they probably, I'm guessing what the conversation was like before he walked out of the door. Hey, if you go to another team and sign a 1-year contract and you hit free agency again, that money is still on the table. I know it didn't go the way you wanted it, but this money is still on the table. And Pittsburgh just don't play. They don't pay guys. Right. He's going to be back on the market. I think he'll be back in the conversation again. Ogunjobi.
Quick side note on Pittsburgh's contracts. If you guys haven't heard this, I read a big article about this a couple of years ago. They like to sign their players to, basically they like to front load their contracts so that they pay them all up front. So let's just make an example of, say, so-and-so, we're going to give you a 4-year, $80 million contract. But we're going to give you a $30 million signing bonus this year and a $30 million signing bonus next year. And then for the next 2 years, we're going to only owe you, $20 million or whatever the difference would be. And then we're going to pay you that in a small amount. And they do that a lot. And of course, players want that because then they get all their money up front, right? But then they start to perform better than their contract might have been worth. And then when they get into it, they get pissed off because now they can't renegotiate like Aaron Rodgers every year and go, I deserve. Well, no, they go, we already paid you for that. And so that's what as far as I know, the speculation to be about the contracts with Pittsburgh, and I'm just a fucking idiot, so I might be wrong. I probably am wrong, but look it up yourself and find out, because I think that's what the deal is. And if you're willing to negotiate with that kind of a team in that manner, it might, a lot of people might be happy with it. Fuck it, give me all my money up front. I
don't know, man. I just try to imagine what those conversations were like with him before he walked out of the door. And you heard Ryan Poles say, hey, the door's not closed on this situation. He said that. And so I mean, to me, it made sense that he went to Pittsburgh and said, "Hey, they may have offered him more, but he said he wanted to sign that 1-year deal, prove that he can be healthy, and he's playing his ass off right now." And so, to me, if DeForest Buckner doesn't fall to them somehow in this reshaping of the Indy over there, I think it's got to be on the table for Ogunjobi.
Bears wanted him this year, so but the only difference is he's more healthy and he's 1 year older. So I definitely say look at him.
So the Bears messed up without signing him, right? Was that a bad move?
No, I think
not for that
right
money,
move.
Not for $40 million.
That was the right move. You want this money? It'll still be here a year from now. Go somewhere else and show me you can be healthy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
that's interesting, Nomad. It's definitely a possibility. But if you look at this list, most of the guys are too old. They're not going to end up on the Bears. So you got Yannick, you got Puna, you got Ogunjobi, and that's really about it. I don't know Farrell. I'm not sure. I don't know that much about him.
We can go down the list too if you want. Like there's more. Do you guys know about these guys?
Oh, yeah.
No, because they're defensive linemen, and unless they're stars, you generally don't hear about them. All right, moving on.
Okay.
There's some interesting guys on here.
Well, you got Marcus Davenport on there. He's the only one I saw.
So let's talk about the positions that that was one, which was defensive tackle that they're going to be looking for in free agency. But what's the next most important? Do you think that they're going to be targeting in free agency?
Outside of defensive tackle?
Yeah.
Definitely DN.
Okay.
The
entire D line.
Right. So let's look at DN.
DN, nose tackle. Shit. They're probably looking at DN nose tackle for sure.
And if you're staying on defense, we need a cornerback.
Obviously, when you're looking at defensive line, you're talking about the same players in the same way. So it's like it depends on who you consider to be a defensive end in a 4-3 or a defensive end in a 3-4. And it's like, okay, well, here we are, kind of back to the same thing. Let's go to defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. That might change that up a little bit, right? So, who fits the Bears' defensive tackle positions from this group of players here?
I love Hargrave, but I don't think Philly's going to let him go.
Mm-hmm. Dalvin Tomlinson would be the first nose tackle that would jump off to you. Then he's got Flus has got time with Tyquan Lewis. Guys like Sheldon Rankins, who I think is a little bit older now.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys there. Derek Noddy poses connects with him. So there's big boys. It's just I think out of all of them, the Dalvin Tomlinson is the one that I picture being the Grover Stewart in Indianapolis.
And this kind of brings me back to what you were saying, Cliff. Is I kind of agree with what you were saying. Daron Payne and Ngakwe works for me, man.
I actually put a little bit of time into it,
I know you did. That's why I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about this.
Thanks.
So, we're talking about linebacker. We need a linebacker too, right?
Definitely.
Is that something you're going to go into? So what we need an outside linebacker?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's update that and see what we have at outside linebacker. Is there who on this list would you want to sign for, to replace Nicholas Morrow or Matthew Adams? Nobody. It's just
I was waiting on Cliff.
That's why I went to the draft.
Exactly. It's like you kind of like summarized the whole thing for us, didn't you?
Linebacker is a like a lot like running back. Is I've said it a million times. It's one of those undervalued positions in the NFL right now. And unless there's a linebacker that you see is elite and different than everything you see out there, maybe you go in free agency and hunt that guy. Or if it's a linebacker that you have relationships with that you know can upgrade your roster, like say you're the guy over in Indy right now that's going to hit the market. I forget his name all the time. Bobby Okereke. So you could actually see them making a move for that guy just because of he brings continuity to the defense. You don't have to coach him up. He knows exactly what he needs to be doing day one. But other than that, I think they replenished the linebackers in the draft.
Yep, I agree.
I can agree with you on that too. So one of the other positions was something that we kind of put as a rose or a thorn that could be added. I hit the wrong button. A position that could be added to the team is guard. So what do you think about the list of free agents here on the guard position? I mean, probably not, right? We're sticking with our own team. We're the players that we talked about: Tyree Carter, Michael Schofield. Obviously, Jenkins is a stud. Players that we may be able to move around, like even if Leatherwood had to move to guard, you might be able to do that. Are they going to go free agency or draft for guard, do you guys think?
I still like Elton Jenkins. I think because we're stealing him from Green Bay. I like that idea a lot.
But his injury history is suspect. Where is he on this list? Oh, he's way down there. There you
go. Yeah, it's just a list, I mean, people put them together.
That's true.
There would be two guys I would circle on this list of guards: Roger Saffold and Isaac Ciamolo. Those would be your two guys. Why? Because, and I guess I just go back to how they scout linemen. They like guys with muscle density, and the first person on that list is Roger Saffold. And he's just a really good left guard, like one of the best in the league. And Isaac Ciamolo, he's a guy that I'm sure Ian Cunningham is hitting on the table for if he hits free agency. Hey, this guy can play his ass off too, dude. Bring him over here.
Mm-hmm.
And another guy, but he's
not. You think the Eagles would let him go?
I doubt it. He's a starting. He's a starting guard right now.
They're on a rookie quarterback contract still, so.
You got Roger Saffold up.
Yeah, you were talking about him first, but you're talking about him now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see him letting him out of there.
He's 29 years old, been in the league for 7 years.
Dudes like him just get better with time, man. Linemen just get better and better and better.
Yeah, if you can get someone like that, you definitely grab them. Again, the only problem is, do the Eagles relinquish him to free agency, or do they sign him to a contract before that happens? So we'll know a lot more.
They have a really good problem, and they have two starting left tackles. The one I've been itching to talk about all night is Andre Dillard. I think if they don't sign him, he's in Chicago.
Andre Dillard, yes.
Yep. And that's no knock against Braxton Jones, but Braxton Jones has to get a lot stronger than he is right now. Very good offensive lineman, very good upside. But is he going to be able to perform at the A1 level that I think these guys may be able to make a push if they make the moves I think they're going to make in the offseason? And you need a sturdy left tackle, and he starts right away.
And you actually had me looking at tape on Andre Dillard, who's not even on this list right here, but that's one of those like bargain basement guys you can get that is like under the radar. That
he's a tackle, Jordy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm on guard. Fucking A. Thank you, Cliff.
Sure.
I mean, most of the really ferocious defensive ends in the league they come in the shape of Michael Parsons or Randy Gregory. You should turn on that Dallas game, Cliff, one of these days when you get a chance. The Eagles against the Cowboys. I think it was might have been last year, and see what he did to them when they lined up on the side. Watch what he just destroyed them, both of them.
Yeah, I think I saw it. I try to watch every Eagles Cowboys game. They're generally pretty good.
I mean, I think that Braxton Jones has played admirably well for a rookie, especially where he came from and his school, his draft position, all that shit. But when you look at the tape, there's not much. Because truthfully, it takes content creators to make tape of these kind of players, and there's not much of him. But what I did find was, you're right. The dude can hold his own. Again, it's all, highlights that you're watching. But from what I've seen, based on what you're talking about, Nomad, you're right. He's thicker. We talked about this. He's thicker in the ass, right? Like a buddy of mine said that, Braxton Jones needs to take off a day or two in the upper weight management and work on his legs, because he just needs to focus on anchoring his. But some people they're shaped like pears, and some people are shaped like upside down pears. It's like some people get the more weight they put on, they get fat at the top and they get skinnier at the bottom, and vice versa. And I've said this before, like if you get me, if I'm fat, I'm turning into like a pear. My legs are going to get fat, and my ass is going to get fat, and I'd be a better probably tackle than I would be a guard. If that would come down to me being an NFL offensive lineman. And for a lot of these guys, it's the same thing. It's like, where are you able to gain the weight at, and can you gate it in the right spots to become that elite at your position? And Braxton Jones, as elite as he is in the upper part of his body, can he continue to move forward and gain that lower body strength that he needs, that we all can see, right? It's kind of an interesting thing when you think like, well, maybe we want to add someone to that mix to just compete with him to see what he has, right?
Sure. Well, you want as much competition as possible. I think that Dillard may be what Braxton Jones could become in 5 years. But right now, of course, if you had the choice between the two, Dillard is obviously the better pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need something right now and ready. You put Dillard over there, you just turn your head and walk away. He's ready.
So there was another position that we had up here that was safety of something that we might be looking for in the draft. Let me pull this up here. The free agents in safety free agents, and see what we have here.
They'll definitely draft one now.
Right. But where does that go with Elijah Hicks? Is he someone that might make the team? Because we only talked about basically starters. So when you're talking about someone like a position like safety, is Elijah Hicks someone that you're going to keep, or you're going to like draft somebody that maybe he could that could replace him? So let's pull up this, as you talk about that. Let's pull up the safety position here.
They're always looking to bring guys in to compete for their jobs. Eddie, I'm not sure if he's going to be ready week 1, but they need to have guys there so that if he's not, we need capable guys out there that can play. And so of course they're gonna draft. That doesn't mean Elijah Hicks can't compete and maintain a spot, but if he doesn't, I mean, just as soon as you're here, you could be gone. If they draft another talented guy, outperform you. So they're gonna keep doing that. They're gonna keep drafting safeties and defensive backs. We definitely need another corner, so it's going to be competition in all positions, man. So nobody's going to walk out there with a given job but Justin.
So what would you guys say is the most going to be like, besides like, I'm sure defensive line will be the most sought after in free agency, but what do you guys think the most second sought after position on the team will be going into free agency before the draft? I'll go with you, Nomad, first.
Outside of defensive line, right?
Right.
You're still in the trenches on the other side. I think they're missing a core piece on the offensive line, whether it be left tackle or wherever it might be on that line. There's definitely a piece missing on the offensive line. Wherever you might think it is, I think that's the next thing. And they need to secure the trenches.
I look at the people that they can't get in the draft. You know, when you're trying to get defensive linemen, you're trying to get top offensive linemen. Those are first-round picks. The Bears have 1 first-round pick. So they get 1, but after that, they have to get it all in free agency. So yeah, I agree that it's offensive and defensive line and offensive line.
Yeah, for a lot of fans, it's probably going to be a pretty boring draft. Like, right? Like, oh, they drafted another offensive lineman, another defensive lineman. Remember in 2000, was it 5 or 6 when they drafted Tommy Harris and Henry Melton in the same draft? No, Tank Johnson. Sorry, Tommy Harris and Tank Johnson in the same draft. It was like, oh, good for you for doubling down on a position that you needed. It was amazing to see, and it worked out for them. I actually kind of felt similar to at the time, the Redskins when they drafted RG3, and then they drafted Kirk Cousins in the same draft, like in the 3rd round. I was like, damn, you need a quarterback, man. You're fucking doubling down. Good for you. And so if the Bears can do something like that this year where we can see them maybe double down on a defensive tackle or an offensive line, I mean, it'll probably piss a lot of fans off. But for the ones that know what this team needs, those are things that this team needs. It starts in the trenches and it ends in the trenches, period. And
can I throw something in there real quick? Because all year I've liked Philly. And just because of all the stuff you're talking about right there. Right. But lately, trending, here's the idea. They're looking for the what San Francisco has going on. And I thought with Jimmy G healthy, I thought they were the front runner to win the Super Bowl. Because what they can do is they can run the fucking ball against anybody. And what they can do is stop you from running. And that wins you games. That you're going to win games when you can run the ball on people and stop people from running the ball against you. You couldn't do shit against San Francisco lately. Can't hardly even throw the ball against them. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. So you're damn right. That starts up front. You gotta have lean, mean, hungry dudes on the front end of your offense and defensive line. You gotta have it. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a really competitive team, your trenches need to be solid.
You know, most fans want skill players, but like Nomad's saying, it's the trenches that win the game.
Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, if you look at the teams of the past with the Bears, they're defensive line driven. No matter what team it's been that's made it to the Super Bowl, it's been that. So, I mean, get ready for it, fans. You're not going to be happy with this draft. It's going to be boring, but it's going to help the team in the future. And you just have to look at the facts that that's what they're going to need, and that's what they're going to need, and that's what they're going to do. And just be happy with it.
Would it surprise any of you if they, during the draft, decided to trade, say, Jalin Johnson for extra draft picks?
Maybe a little bit, just because he's still young.
Oh, that's
be so surprised, question. Man. Was one
thing
they know how to draft DBs, man.
Nothing would surprise me out of Ryan Poles as far as it comes to the draft, because what he has done is they're kind of some of the things that we all talked about as kids growing up. Like, well, why not? You know, we all kind of talked about, growing up playing, Madden and stuff like that. Well, why did we always, as when we were kids, if we won the coin toss, we always wanted to kick off the ball so we could get the ball in the second half, right? And all of a sudden you see all these head coaches coming into the league, and they're our age now, and everyone's doing that, right? And so they're all kind of taking along the same kind of philosophies that we have all had when we were kids. Like, why don't we trade more in the NFL? And why isn't there more trades like you see all over the other leagues in the U.S.? And now we're seeing all these NFL trades coming about, right? And Ryan Poles came in and did something that we've never really seen as Bears fans. He traded our number one defensive weapon in Khalil Mack. Then he turned that 2 picks into 3. And he traded Quinn, and he traded Roquan. And we've been building towards from what we've seen in the last draft going into what we're going into this next season, we're seeing like this transformation of Bears management that we've never seen before. So now it's like, what are we going to do in this next draft? Which is kind of the exciting part of like the final thing we can get into, which we can wrap it up soon because there's not much to talk about in the draft because not everyone has declared yet. But it's like, what kind of moves will this guy do moving forward based with what he has been able to do, turning 5 picks into 11? I'm done ranting. I'll give it to you, Cliff.
Well, the reason why I said it is because think about it, and it's really closer to you than you think. As you get into, we starting to push the postseason, and this teams start getting knocked off, or they didn't get into the playoffs because of a position or two they felt they were weak at. Right next door to us, Detroit. Detroit can score 45 points against you and lose because the other team scores 46 because their secondary is suspect. And so let's just say going into the draft, they feel like they need to shore up the other corner or something like that. And they decided, okay, we've been doing well in drafts and let's trade Chicago for Jalin Johnson. We'll give them that pick. Shit like that happens.
Well, the big question is, what's Poles going to do? We're going to learn a lot about what Poles thinks is important in this draft, more so than the past draft.
And I like what you just brought up because I kind of questioned that in a couple of episodes recently, that would the Bears trade with the Lions? So we all know that the Vikings have been trading with the Lions, and they're like best buddies when it comes to trading lately, right? But would the Bears trade with the Lions at this point in time when we can see what the Lions are building? Do we want to give them more draft capital? I'm not quite sure.
We're taking their draft capital.
Or I mean, I should say, I was opposite of that.
We want to give them a potential Super Bowl team.
Exactly. For us to, I'm not sure if they would do that.
Well, they're closer to what they think is a Super Bowl winning team, and we need the draft capital. So I don't think they're beholden to that much to a defensive back. I think they let him go in a minute to get up there and get some more draft capital.
And I hate sitting here and sucking Detroit's dick, but I like what they've been doing lately. And it's goddamn, if the Bears could be sitting here after having made some kind of a trade that they could be, getting the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft that wasn't even theirs from a team that should be in the playoffs again and that won the Super Bowl. I mean, goddamn, fucking Detroit.
It happens, man. It gets real in the draft, man. Those teams get a little desperate and they reach a little too much.
I mean, this is the first time we've seen this has to be the first time we've seen 3 teams that have two first-round picks in the first round. That's unprecedented.
Yeah. You see it occasionally, and as far as trading, and every player has his price. Would I trade Jalin Johnson for a 2nd-round pick? No. Would I trade him for a top 1st-round pick? That you got to think about. So everybody's got a price. I trade Justin Fields for 3 top 1st-round picks.
Would you trade
never live in Chicago ever?
How about your 3rd pick for Jamar Chase?
Hell no.
I would trade that 3rd pick for Jamar Chase in a second. I would run to the podium.
Yeah, but they want more than that. I'll tell you that. All right, so as I think we kind of agree on some of the positions that we need to go into the draft, right? We need defensive line help. We need some offensive line help. We need some safety help. We're probably going to draft a running back, right? I would like to see them draft a quarterback, someone with the same skill set as Justin that they can develop behind him as a third stringer. I mean, what does Trevor Siemian have any business doing backing up Justin Fields? They need to kind of follow the Ryan Pace mold. Oh, fuck. I didn't say the other name. I think I don't have to pull up the clip. But
who is that, Matt Nagy?
Oh, you fucking asshole. Now I have to go in my fucking little archive and go like this. Jesus Christ. Where are you at? Where are you at, Kitty?
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
Thank you, Kitty. But if they actually started drafting a quarterback here and there, like unlike the past regime said they wanted to, and they could develop one behind Justin, if they can stockpile some picks here, right, and they use one of those picks to draft someone who has the similar skill set to Justin Fields, maybe that's a person that they can trade in the future to get more draft picks out of. And that's kind of the draft philosophy that I want to see them moving forward with.
Well, that's what New England does.
Right. So, I mean, moving into the draft, I mean, we're going to need what? A linebacker, a running back, a safety, some offensive line help, defensive line help, right? We can all agree on that.
Cornerback.
A cornerback, yeah. A cornerback, yes. So what do you want to look at first? Running back?
What are you talking about? Free agency or draft?
Now let's look at what's the first pick do you think they're gonna take? Defensive line, right? Let's go into that.
Well, go ahead.
Is it going to be Jalin Carter? Will he be there? First, let's look at the draft order. Somehow we lost a draft pick without playing a game. So, do we?
Well, the first question is: does Seattle take Jalin Carter?
Word is he's falling in the not falling in the draft, but word is he has character issues.
I don't. So I hate that.
Me too. And will the Bears take someone with character issues? I don't think so.
Like he's 20 years old. Let me see. And when I was 20, did I have any character issues? Did I get in any fights or anything like underage drinking and shit like that? Character issues? What the fuck are you talking about? I forgot who did that. I got a lot of respect for Ty McShay, but that was a Mel Kiper move. Come on, man. You got to be specific or can that shit. Shut the fuck up about it.
Right.
Character issues because
it always happens.
It
happens to black athletes all the time, and I'm sensitive to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's a very well spoken way of saying that, because what does that mean, right?
You gotta throw shit on him. Why you gotta do that, man?
Right.
Might cost that man tens of millions of dollars doing that.
But there's some people that do, right? Like Lawrence Phillips from Nebraska. I mean,
of course, yeah, it's true sometimes, definitely.
Yeah. But do you see him falling in the draft, or him sticking right there at if the position remains the same, and we're looking at. Let's just say this is the draft order. Do you think that Seattle is going to take him with nothing, even though they've been high on him, and with the second pick because of that? Or do you think that he might have the potential to fall in the draft because of that character? Do you think, in other words, is that going to hurt him or help him in the draft process?
I would think teams
it's not going to help him. I'm sorry, Cliff. Go ahead, man.
I would think teams need to do their own research. They're not going to accept any media proclamations on players.
No, man.
I mean, if he's Ty McShay put that out there, and that kind of blew me, man. But you have some guys, like I said, man, character issues. When I was 20 years old in school, dude, I would have been the definition of character issues. I did all kinds of shit. Running around, tramping around with females, me and my buddies, and we was underage drinking, getting into fights, doing all kinds of crazy shit. But I mean, what are you really saying about a 20-year-old having character issues if you can't be specific? What is he doing? Trying to murder people on the side? What are you saying?
Well, are they saying he's like a Carson Wentz? Because Carson Wentz has proven to be a character issue, right?
I mean, he's not a leader.
Right.
That's a character issue.
Good point.
He doesn't rally his team around him. They don't want to play with him. I mean, that's a lot. That's a huge character issue if you're going to be a quarterback of a team, right? Mm-hmm. But you never heard none of that.
For sure. Yeah. Good point. So,
well, Carter's definitely a top 5 pick either way. I don't care what they say.
Me either. I totally agree with you on that. So, what do you think's going to happen here? I mean, are they going to? It's kind of hard to talk about draft, right? Because we know that there's way too much speculation right now. Who's coming out? What's the draft order? Blah blah blah. But let's just kind of end this with, where do you want to see the rest of this? Because we do have kind of a preview of the Eagles game to talk about here right now too. So where do you? I kind of want to go around the horn here and see, what do you guys want to see happen one of these next 4 games? And I want to start with you, Nomad. Like, do you want to see them win half of them? Do you want to see them win all of them? Like, how many do you think they're going to win? Like, what's your speculation here?
I want to see them go out there and make a statement to some of these. What was the Eagles and I think the Bills next, right? Yeah. I want them to go out there and make a statement and tell them through their play, whether you win or lose, like, we're here and we're coming. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what the score is at the end, long as they know that we coming. You see us again, we're gonna be ready.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Bears to play hard and lose every game. So I want them to look respectable. I want them to look like they're behind the coach. But there's a huge difference between the 3rd pick in the draft and what level of talent you get compared to like the 15th pick in the draft or somewhere in that area. So since they have the shot, it's not very often teams get a shot at having a top 3 pick, and I would like to see them get it, even if it means we lose some games.
I'm going to say this. I don't want to see them lose the rest of the games of the season, because I think that becomes poisonous to your team when you're moving into the next season if you just lose your final 14 games or 15 games, or whatever the fuck it would be. Excuse me. I want to see I want to see this team come out and put all their balls on, put all their chips on the table and beat one of these 2 top teams in these next 2 games, whether it's the Eagles or the Bills. Because if we look at, well, I don't have it up right now because I lost it because I had to reset my computer. But if you look at the Eagles' following game after the Bears, they play the Cowboys, and that's a division game. We all know what division games mean. They might be looking ahead to the Cowboys. And I don't know, I haven't looked into whether or not that's a primetime game, but I'm assuming it probably is. And that goes a lot. And if it hasn't, if it's not, it should be flexed to it, right? So that goes a long way into the conversation of whether you're going to overlook a team like a 3-10 Bears when you're trying to play your Packers of your division, and you want to kick their ass on primetime football. I think that the Bears have a real honest chance to beat the Eagles in this next game. And I know I'm a fucking homer. I can't help it. But I feel that if they're going to get a win here, I know I'm ridiculous. It could be the Eagles, like I just said, or it could be the Bills if they lose the Eagles because of that, because then they'll be 3-11, or it could be the Lions to upset their season, or it could be The Vikings, because they're sitting their players because they're going into the playoffs and their seat is already set, and they're like, let's just set our players. So we could easily get 2 of these next 4 games, guys. And that would be amazing to me. That was a long-winded rant to go on about my final hopes for the season, which would be 2 out of the last 4. Nomad, what's your?
I'm telling you, man, it's all about sending a message at this point in the season. Especially when you got to imagine being the coach, and you got to imagine being in the position that you're in with a quarterback that's competitive as fuck. Let me tell you something. Don't ever let anybody get away with telling you this is a bad team. This is a very good team with very low talent level. They are very good. They play their asses off. And a team like Philly walking in here thinking, okay, no, you're going to come in here. You're going to be bruised when you come out of here. So, these coaches are trying to send a message. Like, you're the cream of the crop now, but watch out.
Today at the press conference, they were talking about winning, losing, draft picks, and I forget who it was, but it mentioned something about trying to win the games, and the entire audience laughed.
I know, man.
Nobody's tanking. No.
Like Steve S says, that's as crazy as 11-6.
Hey, I'll be back.
Bears country, baby.
I like a win. Hey, I like a win as much as you guys do. Hey,
guys. Hey, Chicago versus everybody.
Yeah.
So Steve's gonna be surprised if they come out of that game and, let's say, lose by a field goal, I guess.
That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see the Bears look tough, and maybe have the Eagles win it on a last-minute field goal or miracle play or something, so that everybody can say, hey, Bears should have won that game. That would be fine, but I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but I still want to see the losses.
I know it's there's a lot of the fans are split on this, I think, right? And
yep, there's points on both sides. You guys are making good points. Nomad's got a good point about strengthening the team character and getting the winning attitude. It's a very good point.
I'm going to add this. Go ahead to finish what you're saying, Cliff.
I don't know when the next time the Bears will have a potential top 3 pick will be.
Well, the last time we saw them have a top 3 pick was the John Fox era, and that was so miserable to watch. You were like, I can't believe they only have the 3rd pick, and then they had to fucking trade up to get Trubisky to get the 2nd pick. What I'm going to say about this is that this team, with what they have done so far this season, and all the losses that have felt like wins until they finally started to feel like losses, and now we're kind of like, as a fan base, getting to this dejected stage where we're like, nah, just lose another one, just lose another. No, I'm saying that as a team, it doesn't fucking matter what your draft position is. It doesn't. Everyone on that team, they want to play their asses off because they all have contracts. They're all playing for their own livelihoods. So nobody's going to tank on the team for their own draft pick next year because half of them won't even be on the fucking team. They're not looking towards that. And so what you want to see here is, like Nomad said, you want to see the development, you want to see the positive, the growth moving into the end of the season so that they have something to build on next season. And when it comes to the draft, ultimately, none of it matters because you could have the 3rd pick and have a complete fucking bust. You could have the 3rd pick and trade up to the 2nd pick and have a complete fucking bust. We've seen that happen. You can have the 5th pick and draft someone who's a complete bust. You can sit there at 10 or at 7 or whatever and draft Josh Allen, or sit there at 10 and draft Patrick Mahomes. There are players to be had all over in the draft, and the order of it really only comes down to a very select couple. From there on out, it's like
That's why I'm saying top 3.
Just you're playing craps.
Mm.
So if we can win a couple more games and still end up with the 7th pick or the 5th pick,
it would be more like the 12th pick.
Right. Well, right. But even so, or I should say, like, if you don't end up with the 3rd pick and you have the 5th or the 7th or the 5th or the 6th, there still might be a team there that wants a Will Levis as a quarterback for their team that's willing to give you 2 picks and, one in this and first round this year, first round next year, maybe another one or whatever it would take what the metrics are for another couple picks in this draft, but it's still to be had. So just as fans, just stop thinking that you need to, in my mind, I'm thinking, just stop, in my opinion, thinking that it all has to be losses, because it doesn't. There are plenty of good players to be had at the 5th pick, at the 7th pick, at the 10th pick, and there's plenty of busts to be had at the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th. So let's just develop this fucking team, try to figure out the passing game even more than we have, develop the passing game moving forward in the final games. See what you have for your defensive players moving forward in the future that you're going to keep on this team. I think the offensive line I think there's less to be thought about there than most people think. And I think this team moving forward has, this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about in a few months. I know that much, guys. I'm sorry to go off on a long rant.
And that's a good argument for that side of it. I can see that side. There's good points. You're making good points about it. Now, one thing I might say is if the Bears had one more loss a few years ago, they would have Aaron Donald.
Oh, shit. I know. I was supposed to finish your sentence for you, Cliff.
Arguments on both sides. Who knows?
What were you gonna say, Nomad?
Everybody's hemming and hawing about the 3 tech, and we need to get Jalin Carter. Got to think about it. The minute they got in town and free agency hit, what did they do? Went out in free agency and got the 3 tech. Even if you got Jalin Carter right now, doesn't mean he's going to be ready to play starting level in NFL 3 tech against grown-ass men. They're going to do in free agency what everybody's expecting them to do in the draft. They're going to get some of those core pieces in free agency. And so by the time the draft comes around and everybody was all worried about, we can't slide out of the 2nd or 3rd position. No, it ain't going to matter. They will already have taken care of those core needs. So they're going to get the best player available. I
agree. I think that's about well said for the show, guys. You guys want to wrap this shit up?
Yeah, it seems like a good point to do it. We're almost 3 hours in.
Yeah. Seriously, guys, I appreciate all the work that you guys put into coming on to Bears Country and helping us talk about this. Cliff, I know you put a lot of work into all of your little Cliff Notes for tonight for the game, so I do appreciate
my
doing that.
Fantastic Cliff Notes.
You're fucking fantastic.
My little Cliff Notes, yeah. And hey, I like to hear Nomad's commentary too. He has excellent comment.
Yeah.
Hey man, I appreciate you, man. You anybody that's willing to put the time in on his own to put that together, man. Tip of the hat to you, brother.
Seriously, Cliff. I know the work that you put into all that stuff, and your Cliff Notes are well appreciated. I know I shouldn't say little. I was, you're right.
It's called OCD. I start out to just do a quick job, and it always turns into a major project.
It turns into a 4-hour project.
Yes,
I get it.
yes.
That's called passion. Goddamn it, that's what that is.
I know, man. That's why I appreciate
love the Bears. Even though don't want them to lose, but even though I accept the losing right now, I love them as much as you guys do.
We all love the Bears, man. We all love the Bears.
Well,
so,
I think we gave some great differing opinions on this. We did some great coverage on what the 2023 Bears might look like. So, hey, I think we did a pretty good job tonight of covering some stuff that other channels haven't.
I agree. And Cliff, I want to thank you for joining us tonight on Last Call at HALAS Hall. This is kind of the reboot we've been trying to do. Look out for more of that. Nomad, I mean, it's good. It's great to be talking to you again. Have you back on Bears Country Podcast. We're going to be on Barroom Network on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you look out for that. Like and subscribe to that. And then Nomad will be on the Barroom again on Tuesday night with Dan and Aldo. So that'll be a fun watch, too. I'm looking forward to that. I'd rather watch that than talk to him myself on Monday. So that'll be a fun show. So you guys about ready to wrap this up with after I say it one more time, make sure you like and subscribe and send your notifications to Bears Country Podcast. And ready, you guys? 1, 2, 3. Bears. I have to do this myself now because Kitty stopped producing, so it's going to take me a second to get to this.
Where's the circle bear?
Love all you guys for joining us tonight on Bears Country Podcast. We will see you on Monday night.